Okay, how's everyone doing? Okay. Okay, here, let me, post this on Twitter. Okay. Hey, Mr. Jesus, okay. Hey everyone, hey Mr. Jesus, R.I.P., Ricky, Anawak, Adam, Mr. Waifu, B Priv, 400 IQ, Ricky, Locke, Mr. Nowhere, Glitch Ghost Rocker, Ghost Walker, Alfredo, WWII Fan Billy, Mr. Jibs, Anawak, Liam J, some guy, Golden Stripe, Dillingham, Plot Speed, El Soto. How is everyone? Okay. What's wrong, Resident Dark Master? Okay,
No!
Okay. Okay, Brandon needs help. Let's help Brandon. So, from Philippines, how, here, a good day there. Thank you, man. My day's going good. How are you guys? Yes, I'll do a playthrough of that, too. Thoughts on the original Modern Warfare 3 ending cutscene? I wonder who that shadowy figure was. If that was like the Grim Reaper or what that was at the end. And how did people even access that ending? How did they even get that original Modern Warfare 3 ending? Hey, Wasabi guy. This is actually the best place for document forgeries right here. Enter a truck. Okay, I'll take one of the trucks then. I thought it was gonna be yeah, I thought it was gonna be like a plane mission. Okay, still not that bad here. At least not post-op, right? You've been a little quiet in recent videos and streams for your information. Oh, yeah, I mean, I guess I'd try to talk a little bit more. Yeah, I saw the thing with Black Ops 6. Hey, Wasabi guy, how are you? Oh, that's not what he meant. Your mic audio levels have been too low. Oh, my mic audio levels. Well, I don't know if there's anything else I can do about that. I have my mic volume actually set in OBS like the max. So I don't know if there's really anything I can do about that. Who opened the drapes in Godfather 2? Unknown. Possibly Fredo. No, I don't think this can go that far, Golden Stripe. I have never seen a video game do a level on September 11. I've never seen that. I've seen September 11 be referenced in video games, but I've never seen a level specifically with it. If they have a mission on 9/11, that's going to be even more controversial than the No Russian mission. If they actually have that. Do you remember anything that you did in retail? A lot of things. What do you want to know specifically, Alfredo? Any food-related stories from retail? Yes. I can tell you one on that regard. This is a really creepy story that I'll tell people, so I'm just warning everybody. If you are eating something, you know, don't listen to what I'm about to say because this is disgusting. This is something that happened. But one time when I worked in retail, I went to the break room, and I sat down in the break room, and when I wasn't like just paying attention, I just walked in the break room, I sat down, I left my lunch bag in the break room, and like I was going for my lunch, and then do you know what I noticed? I noticed when I opened up my lunch bag, I saw ants all inside my lunch bag, and then what I saw ants all over the table. And then I just looked down, and there was ants just all over my pants. And it just scared the crap out of me. I just freaked out. I was just, like, shaking. And, like, I just instantly just, like, ran to the bathroom. And I was just, like, trying to get them all off. They didn't come from my lunch bag, by the way. The ants that were in the break room, they came because people were just extremely not cleanly in the break room. What happened was, people, when they were in the break room, they would constantly drop food on the floor. They wouldn't clean it up. It was a mess. It was just disgusting. It was horrible. And what happened is, after that situation, I talked to my manager, and my manager let me eat in the office. So every time I wanted to, I could just eat in the office. I had to clean up and be sanitary, which I have no problem. I'm ready to do that. But boss let me clean. Boss let me eat in the office from now on. And you know something I'll tell you guys. Do you know who was causing the hygienic issues? Can anyone guess? Just take a wild guess. Who was causing the hygienic issues in the break room? Can anyone guess on that? You will not believe me when I tell you who was causing it. Wasabi guy got it right. It was the pharmacist. That's who was causing all the hygienic issues in the break room. Because we had a pharmacy department at my retail store, and you would be surprised thinking that a pharmacist, somebody that's in charge of medicine, you would think that somebody like that would be very clean, but they're not. And the pharmacy staff, do you know what the pharmacy staff would do? They were so uncleanly that they would drop like a slice of pizza on the floor, and they would just leave it there. They wouldn't take out the garbage would just get filled up. They would have like food spill in the microwave. They wouldn't clean it up. So like it was just dirty. That microwave was so disgusting. I remember that too. And the thing about this is, if you confronted the pharmacy people about this and you asked them like, hey, you know, you guys gotta clean up the break room. You can't eat like this. You know what pharmacy would say? They would say the exact same thing every time. And they would say, that's not my department. I'm not in charge of that. Your front store, that's your responsibility. I'm not in charge of that. I'm just in charge of pharmacy. That is what they would say every single time if you confronted them on that. And that is, that's one of the stupidest things that I've ever heard, because I don't care if my job is front store. It's that if you eat in the break room, you clean up after yourself. I don't care if you're the richest person in the world. I don't care what your title is. I don't care if you're the CEO of the company. If you eat in the break room and you make a mess, you clean up after yourself. It's common decency. That's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to say, oh, you know, that's not my job description. That's not what I'm supposed to do. It's like, you make a mess, you clean it up. It's simple. It's simple like that. And the thing about this is, it's kind of ironic how the pharmacist would always say that it's not in my job description. But guess what? They would constantly ask me for help in the pharmacy, and I would come back to the pharmacy and I would help get rid of their throwbacks, which throwbacks are the stuff that people didn't want to buy. So when people want to go to pharmacy and they buy stuff from the store while they're picking up their medicine, they can pay for it there, and they'll say, oh, I didn't want this, and then they would have baskets of stuff that would be filled up. Well, that's not my department either. but I would constantly come on over there and I would help them clean it up. And so it's just like, just the fact that they would just say, oh, it's not my, you know, my apartment, it's yeah, that's what I'll say about that, is, I just don't get how people can be such a-holes like that. Fots, yeah, thank you, bro, for the super chat, too. I can't stand people like that. People that are entitled and think that, oh, just because they're a pharmacist, that they think that everybody else there is like an idiot and they have to report to them. What happens if a service dog bites you for no reason? Well, depends on it would depend obviously on how severe it is, but you might need to make a report on that. Sorry, Pro, for saying what? Wait, what, resident? I'm confused. Okay, let's go to his next business location here. I don't think they ended up ever calling an exterminator to the place to get rid of the ants. I just never ate in the break room again. I will tell you, I'll tell you guys a story once. Oh, okay, resident. This one is kind of relevant to this situation, but, and I've told this one before, but oh, we got Vans post-op. Cleanliness is everyone's responsibility. Oh, I agree. So this is another, a situation that leads into this one. So, guess what? Is one time I got called to the back of the pharmacy when I was working in retail. I go to the back of pharmacy, and do you know what I do? When I get in front of pharmacy, I see like this orange puddle just like in front of pharmacy, and I see like this goo just like on the floor. And I ask the pharmacist, I'm like, what is that? And he just says, he's like, oh, it's vomit. A customer vomited. I want you to clean it up, Patrick. And that was one of the few times at that point that I stood up for myself, and I basically said the exact same thing the pharmacist said. And I said, that's not my department. I'm not responsible for that. And I just walked away. So like the pharmacy, they would always say it's not my department when they would make a mess in the break room, and they wanted me to clean up vomit in front of the pharmacy. I said, it's not my department. I'm not cleaning it up. You know, I get paid a little bit above minimum wage when I was working in retail. I'm not, you know, cleaning up vomit. I'm not, you know, dealing with that. It's not me. This is not feudalistic Europe, and I'm not a peasant, and you're not the aristocrat. So that's, you know, that's what I'll say, is I wasn't gonna, you know, I wasn't gonna clean it up. But here's the thing is that my supervisor, and this taught me also a really valuable lesson, because the supervisor that I had at that time, she was really strict. She was, and when I first started working, I didn't like her. But then I actually started to respect her, and I started liking her, because even though she was really strict, she was never lazy. And if you did your work, you did your job, she would never get on your case, and not only that, she would have your back. So if you needed her for anything, she would be there. She was a bit strict, but if you did your job, she would take care of you, and she was there to help you. And so at that point, I learned a valuable lesson that being strict does not necessarily mean that you're a scumbag. And what happened is the supervisor asked me, that strict supervisor, she just asked me, like, why did you go to the back of pharmacy? And I told her straight up, I said that the pharmacy wanted me to clean up vomit. And she says to me, she says, they wanted you to do what? And she went back there, she just stormed back there, and she was dropping F-bombs. She was just screaming. I heard her all across the store that they tried to get me to clean up vomit, and they deserved it. They deserved to get cursed out. They deserved that yelling. So that was, I don't think there was any consequences for pharmacy for that. But they literally deserved that, that screaming, that yelling. Pharmacist, you'll get respect when you fix this damn puke. Oh man. I'm trying to eat, Pro. I'm sorry then. I'm sorry then, dude. Hey, Mr. Waifu, thank you for the super chat. Would've asked, would you leave your house like this? No, I probably wouldn't, you know, I probably wouldn't walk around like this, Christine. Oh, and I'll tell you guys something else crazy that happened with that pharmacist. Oh, I never worked at GameStop though, Jonathan. I don't know what you're talking about. Thank you, Golden Stripe, for the super chat. But what is it? Oh yeah. So there's another story with this pharmacist. I'll tell you guys another one. There is this guy who called me for help once, and he wanted me to help him find an arm sling. And I was going around in the aisle trying to help him find an arm sling, and he started cursing at me. And he basically started saying to me, he's like, which one of these is the effing right one? Like, you know, blah, 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 like this, dropping a few F-bombs. It's not a very nice attitude. And I said to him, I'm like, sir, you know, I'm trying to help you. If you continue being rude to me, I'm not going to help you. And he basically said, fine, which is the best one? And I said, this one. And he took it, and he left. He went to the pharmacy. He was picking up some medicine there, too. Apparently, this guy, I found out later, this guy was, like, a heroin addict. And he was, like, coming into pharmacy to, like, pick up some medication. I don't know if it was, like, withdrawal or whatever it was for. But he was picking up some kind of medication. And what ends up happening is, when that guy was online with the pharmacy, and the pharmacist brought out his medicine, he started cursing at the pharmacist, just yelling at the pharmacist. I don't know what it was over, but he was just pissed about something. And then, out of nowhere, while he was yelling, he just vomited on the pharmacist. Like, just... Not exaggerating on this, not joking, it's out of nowhere. I don't know if he did it on purpose. I don't know. That I don't know. If he did it on purpose or if it was an accident or what happened, but he vomited on the pharmacist. And the story gets even crazier because right behind that guy was a cop right behind him online, and he was picking up medication for his wife. So the cop was like right behind him online and saw him just vomit on the pharmacist, and the cop basically said to the pharmacist, he's like, you want me to take this guy out of here? And the pharmacist is like, no, it's okay. But that was, that was like a crazy situation. Got my new debit after the previous one expired. Oh, okay, Mr. Waifu. Thank you for the super chat. One time when I worked for Publix, an associate vomited in a garbage bag that I ended up throwing away for her. Ugh. What was the most dangerous World War II job position? Oh, that's easy. The most dangerous position that you could have in World War II, if you're an American soldier, the most dangerous job that you could have is being a flamethrower operator in the Pacific. That is the most dangerous job. The flamethrower soldiers were the most likely to die out of anybody in the Pacific campaign. Thank you, Dillingham, for the super chat. Batman Arkham series, please, pro. I'll do it possibly one day, Goofy. Just not in June, because I got a lot of projects to do it in June. I got a few different playthroughs there, but I might consider it doing it one day, yes. I'm sorry if I disgusted anybody with those stories, but I just wanted to tell a story about the pharmacy. Are you a fan of the Jog Saw horror series? I don't know that one. I feel like a paratrooper would be worse. No, paratrooper jobs are definitely very dangerous, but if you are a flame trooper in World War II, you have the highest chance of dying out of anybody. Thank you, American Loyalist, for the super chat. We had a guy, a random guy who needed to take a massive dump, and both restrooms were occupied. He ran to the back of our store, unloaded in our back sink, where we keep the mops and change out the water. Ugh. That's horrible. That's disgusting. Yes, I'm gonna have a real-life video giving advice on how to deal with, like, scummy YouTubers who guilt-trip their audience. I'm gonna have, like, a video talking about those YouTubers. Pretty sure he meant Jigsaw. Oh, Jigsaw. You mean the Saw movies. I know them. I never really watched them. Professional, what are Independence Day celebrations like in the U.S.? A lot of fireworks, usually barbecues. What about being a bomber crew? It's more safe than being a flame trooper. Our manager called the cops, but the guy was so sorry and even cleaned up after himself and walked away. Oh. Pro, if you play the Arkhamverse, do not play Sewer Slide Squad Kill the Justice League. If it absolutely urinates and poos all over Rocksteady's Legacy D. You mean the Suicide Squad game? That one? Thank you, Mr. Waifu, for the super chat. But I will say this is, you know, being a flame trooper in World War II was not just that was not just the most dangerous job. You were the most likely to die, but it was also the most horrific job. So it was the most dangerous and horrific job at the same time too. Because imagine if you were a flame trooper in the Pacific and like you had to clear out like some Japanese bunkers and you just poured the flamethrower inside and you just set a bunch of soldiers on fire and you just heard them scream. Like, that's not a quick death. And that is something that's probably going to haunt you, that's going to torment you. That could, you know, cause extreme cases of PTSD, nervous breakdowns. I know that's a huge part of the story in LA Noire also, but that's, I cannot imagine the PTSD from that too. If you became Spider-Man, would you tell us? Sure. Thank you for the super chat, Mythagoras. The worst jobs in the Vietnam War were the rat tunnels. Yes, tunnel rats. And the thing about that is usually the soldiers that were short were chosen for that. That was a very, yes, somebody can shoot your flamethrower tank too, Zombie Fanatic. That's true also. Thank you for the super chat. My grandfather was a flamethrower operator in World War II, and when he was passing away, he saw the people he burned. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's horrible. That's horrible, Geek. I'm sorry. There's a reason that the flamethrower was banned. It was that it's not used anymore. It was it's such an inhumane weapon. Hey, Suspect 13, how are you, man? Hey, Space Boy. How are you, man? My favorite vehicle in GT Online? I don't know. To think about that one. What do you mean, like, Blade of Stars? I was a little confused by the video you sent me. Were you talking about, like, people saying that the car is theirs when it's not, just to avoid getting another person a ticket? Is that what you were talking about? Yep, this is where we had that situation where the post-op van flipped. It was in the air, that little short that I had, yep. Yeah, I know, Mr. Waifu. A golf money guide? You're never gonna have a 100% perfect country, Isaiah. Why was Iraq such an unnecessary war? What I will say is, that war, I'll tell you about that, is that war has basically, shaken my confidence in the government. And, like, I don't think I will ever, you know, I don't think I would ever fully trust my government, especially after that situation, the Iraq War, because I remember when that war first started. I remember when I was a kid. I was like, how old was I? That was 2003, so I was like, what, 8, 9 years old when that thing started. Yeah, so when that situation happened, I remember the vast majority of the American public was for the war at that point. I think it was like 80-90% supported the conflict right when it started. But it was the thing about that is, while it was the wrong decision at the time, the American public was like, it was right after September 11, and the government was like telling us that there's, oh, this guy, this dictator in Iraq, and he's like hiding Al-Qaeda, and he has weapons of mass destruction, and he's gonna like destroy the world, and we gotta go and get him. And people believed that. The vast majority of people believed that. Like, it was all over the news. People were supporting the war. And then when it came out that there was actually no weapons of mass destruction, the whole thing was basically just a lie. You know, the CIA had basically just lied about that whole thing. you know, it shook people's confidence in the government. And so I don't think I'm ever really gonna trust the government fully after that situation too. I was just a kid at that time. I was like, you know, like I said, 8, 9 years old. I thought that it was justified when I was a kid because I thought that we were, you know, gonna stop like terrorists and we were gonna, you know, stop this madman that had nuclear weapons. But it turns out that it was all, you know, all for nothing. It was nonsense. I'm an Iraq War veteran. I'm 39 years old, and that war was BS. I'm sorry to hear that, Jay. Yeah, it was like, and that's why I don't really trust the government anymore. I don't. So, like, I don't believe the government. So that's just, and that's one of the main reasons was the Iraq War. So, like, when I hear, like, all these foreign policy experts, like, talk about all this stuff, like, I don't trust them. Because remember, is like, these were the same people that told us that Iraq had WMD. So, like, why should I trust these people again? So that's just, why did the police stop using revolvers? Because semi-auto pistols are just more effective. You know what I'll say about what I will say about revolvers is there's like there are people out there that they basically they say that revolvers are better than semi-auto pistols because if a cop is like fighting somebody, for example, and the cop presses the barrel against like a criminal in a close fight, that if it's a semi-auto pistol, the gun might not go off, but a revolver will. But having a situation like that, where you are just like that close, is not that common. Like where it's like literally just right on top of the person. So like I just personally think that semi-auto pistols are just always more effective. People can make the argument that revolvers are a little bit more reliable, but if you keep a semi-auto pistol clean, you know, in good condition, it's not gonna jam. Saw Letters from Iwo Jima and Flags of Our Fathers. Yes, I seen those movies like a long time ago. Letters from Iwo Jima, I don't think I've ever seen that one. That's the Clint Eastwood movie, so I don't think I've ever seen that one. But I have seen Flags of Our Fathers when I was a kid. That was about the soldiers who put the flag up on Iwo Jima. I remember that, General's alert. It's not just the U.S. government that is to blame for Iraq and Afghanistan. Well, it's a huge part of it is the U.S. government, but I agree. There are other countries that were involved also. Like Britain was heavily involved in the Iraq War. Like Tony Blair. Both Tony Blair and George W. Bush were a bunch of idiots. But it's, yeah, but I would say is the U.S. government is probably the main culprit for that. It was just a stupid, you know, conflict. I mean, you could make the argument that Afghanistan was definitely way more justified than Iraq because Afghanistan was like, you know, hiding Al-Qaeda and like people that like had attacked the U.S. So if anything, Afghanistan was more justifiable. But like Iraq was just such a stupid war. It was such a pointless, you know, dumb war. It started over nothing, and it was, you know, it was this. Iraq is a very unstable place today, too. So it's here. Thank you, YCM. Thank you for sponsoring that channel. And thank you, General's Alert, for that super chat. Thank you, Zombie Fanatic, for that super chat also. My dad was a ground crew engineer in the Royal Air Force during the Iraq. I can remember he was away for 4 months. I was 6 and a half at the time. Oh. I hope that your dad is, I hope that your dad is okay. I finally got the membership to work after weeks of trying, which is usually endlessly load. Oh, okay, YCM. Could I send you my, my friend Kali Plain's email? Sure. And, Alvanor, I saw your message earlier. You just didn't message me last night. You said you were away. I can talk to you in a party tomorrow It's just that tonight I'm just a bit busy. I just have a lot of stuff to do. But tomorrow we can just sit down in the party and we can talk about this whole thing, and you can just basically go over it with me. Just like afternoon Central Time. I don't know Central U.S. time. I don't know like what. I'll message you. What kind of streams do you typically do for members? I'm still gonna have another member stream this month. I'm gonna probably announce it tonight. On members only streams, you know, I usually play whatever game people want me to play, so I'll play like a few different games. I'll talk. Sometimes I won't even play a game at all. Sometimes I'll just sit there for like a few hours and just answer all questions that come up. I also like to talk about videos that I got coming up. Sometimes give sneak peeks to my videos and some of my lore projects, and favorite World War II movies and shows? I think the best World War II TV show of all time is Band of Brothers. I think Band of Brothers is the best one. I think the second best one is The Pacific. I think The Pacific is also really good. I don't know why so many people hate on The Pacific. The Pacific was great. I don't know why what the problem people had with The Pacific, but it was I know it's not as popular as Band of Brothers, but it was I like The Pacific too. Do you think we should have immediately pulled out of Afghanistan after we clipped bin Laden? I will tell you that, that was 2011 when he died. I think that, like, pulling out immediately, I think would have been a little rash, because we still had some things to take care of in Afghanistan. But I will say look, the vast majority of the public wanted to leave Afghanistan. Like, we were in Afghanistan for way too long. It was like a 20-year conflict. So, you know, I think we can all agree that 20 years is way too long. But the problem with Afghanistan was just the pullout. The pullout was just terrible. The majority of people wanted us to leave, but it's how we left. It was just such a disaster. It was just so bad. That's what I say is that the Afghanistan withdrawal is probably going to go down in history as one of the biggest American foreign policy disasters in the 21st century. That is literally 60, 70 years from now, people are going to be looking at the textbooks, like in schools, if they even have textbooks, everything's probably virtual. But when they're going to be learning like 60, 70 years from now, they're going to be like, wow, our ancestors were really stupid on how they pulled out of Afghanistan. Like, literally, like, when you think about, like, our grandkids and our great-grandkids, like, what they're going to be, like, thinking about that Afghanistan withdrawal, they're going to be, wow, they were stupid. Hey, Pro, why was Arthur jealous of John in Chapter 1? I don't think he was really jealous of John in Chapter 1. I think he hated John, that John, like, left the gang and then he came back. He thought that John was kind of like a slacker, that John wasn't, like, a true member of the gang. I think that's what it was more about. Oh, I'll drive the truck. Thank you for letting me drive. Why did the US fail to fight off the Taliban? The thing about this is the Taliban was already starting to make a rapid advance, like, all the way from, like, July, because, like, it was August of 2021 when Afghanistan fell. It was, like, July they started making an advance. The thing is, though, if the US had done some airstrikes, some drone strikes, like, in the mountains, like, when the Taliban were away from the cities, and they were away from the towns, and they were going towards, like, Kabul, they were going towards the cities, when they were just in the countryside, like, in the mountains, that would have been probably a better time to use airstrikes. The Taliban could have probably been destroyed at that point. but the U.S. government basically did not offer the Afghan government any air support whatsoever. So like July and August, they didn't give them any air support. And then once the Taliban got in the cities and they took over the cities, air support was completely useless at that point, because you're going to kill thousands of innocent civilians. You use air support because they're in the cities at that point. So it was just they should have used it when they were approaching the cities, when they weren't at the city yet. But it was just too late at that point. The government was stupid. They were incompetent, and it happened. And it's just unfortunate. You know, I'll tell you something. I feel terrible for like the people that were in Afghanistan, like that helped us. I feel terrible for those people, like absolutely terrible. Like they will never forgive us for just like leaving like that. Like I feel terrible for those people. Those people are probably being oppressed. They're probably being murdered. So like I just feel so bad for those people that helped us. I feel like we betrayed them. Like it was just it was such a bad situation too. Yes, I know. It was horrible when they were trying to get on the planes. It was horrible. And then, and I'll tell you something. It's you had like those idiots, like you know, you had those idiots that were like leaving comments like you had those idiots that were like leaving comments right after the thing happened. And like I was reading like comments on like a lot of different news videos, like right when that situation happened back in like, you know, summer of 2021. And I saw like these really toxic comments of just like people, they were saying like, oh yeah, this is a good thing. It's like the imperialist Americans have been kicked out, and like, you know, the Taliban liberated their country and blah 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 this. And I was like, seriously, are you stupid or something? Like I was just reading these comments, like, are these people idiots? Because like you could be against the Afghanistan war. There's nothing wrong with being against the war. But if you think the Taliban are like freedom fighters, if you think the Taliban are good people, you're an idiot. It's like if you think that they are literally freedom fighters, you're an idiot. That's like what I say. You could be against the war, but if you think the Taliban are like good people, you're an idiot. That's literally what I will say about that. So like when I see these comments, these stupid people that were just like saying, oh, you know, they defeated the imperialist U.S. and they liberated their country. Yeah, liberated their country, and they're starting to oppress women now, and like women aren't allowed to go to school. They liberated their country, definitely. So like I don't know how anybody can say that they're liberators or they're freedom fighters. It's like a bunch of idiots that would say that. What are you talking about, Ace? Oh, you mean the LA Noire case, okay. Okay, here we go. What do you think on, Comos? Wait, what, Rick? What is that? Oh, I missed the super chat, I'm sorry. It's crazy how Jack killed Edgar Ross when he was fishing, in which Ross met Jack when he and Arthur was fishing. What goes around comes around. I think it was kind of symbolism. I think it was kind of ironic, too. Thank you, Chryslin. Oh, okay, Ace. Well, I agree with you, Viking, that Iraq was a dumb war. I agree with you 100% on that. Is there still places like labor camps, or are they all gone? Are you talking... Labor camps still very much exist. There's a lot of countries that exist. Like, probably the country that probably has the highest percentage of labor camps in the world is North Korea. That is, Okay, let's enter a boat. Okay, Ace. Yeah, I think that was a disaster, Fernando. You know what? I'll tell you something. Remember when I played that horror game? That horror game, the Dark Pictures, House of Ashes. It's a horror game that takes place during the Iraq War, and in the game you play as like a CIA agent. You play as like what is it? 2 American Special Forces soldiers. You play as like a translator, and you play as an Iraqi soldier, like from Saddam's like Republican army. And so you're constantly switching between the characters, and all of the characters are like in this dangerous situation, and they're trying to get away from the monster, and they're trying to survive, and so they got to put their differences aside and like work together. And like I remember when I was playing that game, I had like, there was dumb people that were like coming in the comments section, and they were saying like, you know, why are you playing a game that like, you know, supports the Iraq War? That game was completely anti-Iraq War. Like, that game took place during the Iraq War, but there was nothing pro-war about that game. That game was actually criticizing war. That was like, that entire game was very much anti-Iraq War. Like, if you saw the theme of the game and like everything that it was like talking about in the game, there's even like in one of the collectibles that you can find in the game is like a CIA document, and the CIA document actually says that we have to, it was like referencing the US, it was saying we have to find something, because if we don't find something, some kind of weapon, then we are violating international law. So literally, the CIA document even says we have to find something, or else we're in violation of international law. So literally, they're pressuring them to find something, even if it's nonsense, just to try to justify it. So I think the people that were saying like, oh, the game was pro-Iraq war, I don't think they seem to understand like that the game was actually very much anti-Iraq war. Metal Gear Solid 5 is also an anti-war game and actually condemns you for killing people. Oh, okay, Mr. Jibbs. Thank you, Kata Mount. Thank you for sponsoring my channel. I think that I think the most, I'm trying to think what the most anti-war game that I've ever played is. I think maybe Far Cry 2. Maybe Far Cry 2 is the most anti-war game I've ever played. Far Cry 2 is very anti-war. I'm trying to think. But yeah, I think it was Far Cry 2, maybe it was the most anti-war one. I haven't played Spec Ops The Line, so I don't know. Well, I'm gonna do one more video on Claude. It's gonna be a shorter one, but basically it's gonna be kind of a funny video. It's gonna be called All the Gangs That Claude Pissed Off and Why. That's what it's gonna be called. So it'll be like a short video. It's not gonna be a very long one, but it's gonna go through all the gangs that Claude pissed off. The next case is gonna be about life insurance. Oh, is it gonna be another DLC case? Thoughts on Charles Perallo being known as a poll account? I've seen that YouTube account several times. I've never watched any of his videos, but I've been recommended like polls from him before. So like he recommends polls. A lot of times his polls are just very popular. But about Charles, what I'll say about Charles is his polls are very biased. Like it's not easy to explain. But like the way that he sets up the polls, he wants people to always vote a specific way. It's not balanced. It's not like he just always wants people to vote a specific way. That's what I'll say about a lot of his polls. And also about Charles is one other thing I don't like about Charles is Charles claims to be a libertarian in a lot of his posts. So like whenever he makes those polls, he always claims that he's a libertarian. But if you look at a lot of his political positions, a lot of his political positions are not libertarian at all. They're actually very very big government, very large government. So that's what I'll say about Charles is he always claims to be a libertarian, but it's like a lot of his political positions are not very libertarian like. Okay, let's see here. My dad played as a soldier in a World War II Pacific movie back in the 90s called A Thin Red Line. No, I've never seen that movie. What part of the movie does your dad play in? Let's see here. Service vehicles. Avenger request. Here we go. Yeah, I know we left the boat. I'm going back for it, Casey. My GTA character was charged for their crimes. If I made like a video, my GTA character was charged for their crimes, I would literally have like I would have to do like a 20-hour video, because it's how long ridiculous that would be. Bro, please add me. What's your PSN? Just imagine how many crimes would just break in one GTA lobby. Like, my character would probably have, like, you know, like, what, like 100,000 counts of murder at this point? Because it's all the NPCs that he killed. Like, literally over a 10-year period. Would you mind having jetpacks thrusters in GTA 6? As long as it's... Here's what I'll say about that. When it comes to, like, having, like, a jetpack in GTA 6, I'm not necessarily against it, but I don't want it to be online. Like, I don't want it to be, like, where you go on the internet and you, like, buy a jetpack. I don't want something like that. I want it to be where you, like, steal it from a military base or something like that, like San Andreas. Not, like, where you just, like, order on the internet. Oh, whoa, no, no. Oh, that was a fail. It's a massive fail there. Thank you for the pickup. Who's a better detective, Gumshoe or Fulbright? Maybe Fulbright. It's, here's the thing about that. Both Gumshoe and Fulbright, they're kind of both stupid, but they got good hearts. You know, they're good guys. They're just both a bit stupid, but they're not bad people. Something you didn't mention in your Claude video is that he could have a disorder where he can't talk. Well, I kind of did mention it. I basically, what I said was, I said that he probably can't talk. That's what I said. Is he can't talk because there are situations where it'd be a lot easier for him to talk. So that's just basically what I think about it is, I don't think Claude can talk.
Cryptocurrency receipt.
So yeah, Tina, is basically, I don't know what kind of disorder it would be, but I just think that Claude personally can't talk. That's just my theory on it. I don't think he chooses not to talk, I just think he can't talk. Gang respect system? How does that work in GTA 2, Dillingham?
Good to see you.
Hey, Pro, joining the stream now. If you were, Nico, but not, but have to work with Dimitri again for GMP, would you do it? Why or why not? No, absolutely not. I would never work with Dimitri again.
I was
Okay, Ricky. I'm taking A and C. A and C is mine. How come you can find GTA 1 and 2 on Steam, but you can't purchase them? Really? So you can find them on Steam, but you can't purchase them? I didn't even know that. Make sure you guys watch for the undercover cops that are hiding on this. Oh, damn. What the... I don't see any cops, okay. No, I don't really use Twitch. I'm just on YouTube. I know GTA 4 ending is sad, but you gotta admit, GTA 4 has the best chase missions ever, where you get your final enemy at the very end. Hope GTA 6 also. Yeah, GTA 4's final mission was kind of fun. Yeah, it was. But I don't think that GTA 4 had the best chase mission in the entire GTA series though. I think the best chase mission in the entire GTA series is probably San Andreas' final mission, end of the line, when you're chasing Tenpenny. I think that's the best GTA chase of all time. Like, the best car chase of all time is the one where you're chasing Tenpenny at the end of GTA San Andreas. I mean, would you guys agree with me? I think that's the best car chase in the entire GTA series, is that one. Oh, thank you, Nicky Gaming. Do you think that some bits of social media have made modern society worse? Yeah. Pro-Infern will do more for America than any politician that ever existed. Vote for professional sheep taco man for president 2024. Thank you, Titan. Thanks, man. Yeah, possibly, Merp. I gotta go back and do Saints Row 200%. Because I know a lot of people have wanted me to do that. Is the Ghost Raid glitch still in the game? As far as I know, yes, it's still in the game. Which gang has worse Red Dead Redemption 1? Williamson's gang or Dutch's gang? Dutch's gang, because Dutch is brutal too.
You doing this, huh? The product's in the back of the truck and...
Well, that was a disaster, Jesus. I remember that there was like a coup that the CIA did, and that was like during the Cold War. That was in Chile. That was a disaster. It led to the rise of Pinochet, which Pinochet was a bit of a psychopath. Here's don't fire any missiles from the Oppressor Mark II. I know you're trying to help me, I appreciate it, but just don't fire it, because the motorcycles that chase me, they can't do anything. They can't hurt me. And so it's the missiles could accidentally hit the truck. I've had that happen a few times. The missiles from an Oppressor hit the truck, and it's... But I do appreciate this support. But there was this... Vault 106 is horrible, but Vault 92 is also horrible. Oh. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Vault 87 is the creepiest in my opinion. A bit too, yeah. But I think that Vault 106 is probably the scariest one. What is the coolest tank? I don't know. I don't really know that much about tanks. I think the PLO-1, that Polish tank, was kind of cool, but it never entered production.
You closed that deal?
I think the 10 penny tower ending was probably the most disturbing in the game because it's like a quest where you do the right thing, you try to do the right thing, and it just ends in everybody being murdered if you do the good option. So it's just like it's such a crazy quest. I still have this here. Did I nuke the town in Fallout 3? No. I'll do that in my evil playthrough. What?
Damn.
All right, these drops are.
What's the vault name that has all the Gary clones in Fallout 3? Which vault is that? I wonder what happened to all the people in the vault with the Garys, because I don't think you can find any dead bodies in that vault. So I don't know like what happened to all those people in there. And wouldn't the Gary clones like starve to death? That's the thing about it is when they just starve. Because the Gary clones are incapable of any rational thought. They're just psychotic. They just kill everything that's not a Gary clone. 108, yeah, it's Vault 108. You know what I'll tell you guys. You know what I think the scariest vault in the entire Fallout series is? Which vault scared me the most? The vault that scared me the most was that vault in Fallout New Vegas that has the plant zombies. You know that one? Like zombies. Like I think that was probably the scariest one. No, I didn't, Mr. Nowhere. I'm sorry. But yeah, I will say, you know what's so stupid is there are people that are like complaining that Fallout vault, which vault was it? It was Vault 22, right? Yeah. So there are people out there that say that Vault 22 is like a rip-off The Last of Us, because Vault 22 it was it's like a like the plants create this fungus that basically creates like spores in the air, and what happens is when you breathe in the spores, you just basically cough and cough until you die, and then what ends up happening is the fungus just grows inside your body and reanimates your body, and your body just comes back as a zombie and attacks anybody that's not infected. And people were like saying that that's a rip-off The Last of Us, but Fallout New Vegas actually came out 3 years before The Last of Us, the game came out. So literally, that was from Fallout New Vegas. But that's what I say is those plant zombies. That is the scariest thing that I think I've seen in any vault. Like the fact like dead bodies that came back to life, that attack you. I think that's like the scariest thing. And have you seen what the plant zombies look like in Fallout New Vegas? That's a scary. Yeah, people were saying that, but But do you know what the stupidest thing that I've seen people complain about? The dumbest thing ever? The dumbest thing I've ever seen people complain about when it came to a video game, when the Scarface video game came out in 2006, people were complaining about it when it came out in 2006. And do you know what people said? People said, oh, this is a ripoff of GTA Vice City. That's what people said. They're like, this is a copy of GTA Vice City. That's what people were saying about the Scarface game. Now, can anybody tell me, if anybody who knows what I'm talking about, do you know why that's really stupid? Saying that Scarface is a ripoff Vice City? Can people betray each other and escape from Tarkov? Yeah, Vice City is a ripoff Scarface. That's the funny thing is. So people were saying like, oh, Scarface is a ripoff Vice City, the Scarface game. But the premise of Vice City was a ripoff the Scarface movie. That's really what people were being so stupid with that. Pro, when up editing the videos for the homicide division, I strongly suggest you blurry the dead bodies because it shows a lot of nudity. Yeah, and I might have to do that because I might get in trouble from YouTube, because I remember the dead bodies in LA Noire when you're doing the serial killer case, that the dead bodies are just so like brutalized that yeah, it just showing that on a video it might cause a community guidelines violation. I've gotten that before with World at War. What about GTA series? When GTA series played it, did he blur out the dead bodies in his playthrough of LA Noire? The plant zombies are called spore carriers. Yep. Well, the Dark Brotherhood was awesome in Oblivion. It was great. The Dark Brotherhood in Skyrim kind of sucked. I don't know, like, the thing about Skyrim is there are people out there that think that Skyrim did everything better than Oblivion. Well, I do believe that Skyrim is a bit better than, Oblivion. A lot of the factions in Oblivion are better. Like, the gameplay in Skyrim is overall better than the gameplay in Oblivion, but the factions in Oblivion are generally better than the factions in Skyrim. Like, the Dark Brotherhood is so much better than the factions in than the Dark Brotherhood in Skyrim. So Dark Brotherhood Oblivion is much better. The Thieves Guild in Oblivion is way better than the Thieves Guild in Skyrim. The only faction that's better in Skyrim than in Oblivion is the Companions. The Companions are so much better than the Fighters Guild. The Fighters Guild, like, sucked. So the Companions are better than the Fighters Guild. But the Dark Brotherhood and the Thieves Guild in Oblivion are way better than the Dark Brotherhood and Thieves Guild in Skyrim. No, they're not connected, creator. How accurate are mob hits in The Sopranos? Well, the most common mafia execution is just 2 shots to the back of the head. I guess Eternus, but it was just like I just didn't have that much fun with it. Like, you know, the main antagonist in the Skyrim Dark Brotherhood was like that Imperial Guard commander, and it was like the Emperor. But it was like the main antagonist in Oblivion, like that guy who like infiltrated the Dark Brotherhood. He became like a speaker because he wanted revenge on the Dark Brotherhood for like killing his mother, so he joined the group and he was like trying to kill the Night Mother. Like, that story was just way better written than What are your thoughts on the FBI, CIA? Thank you, Cringe name, for the super chat. I don't really have an issue with the FBI, but the CIA, on the other hand, I think the CIA I think the CIA should be abolished. I think the CIA should just be getting rid of. I think the CIA are like a, the CIA have caused way more problems Like, the FBI have done more good things than bad things in their history, but the CIA, on the other hand, is the opposite. The CIA has done worse, more bad things than good things. And the thing about it is that pretty much everybody around the world knows what the CIA is. So, like, even if you're not an American, you know what the CIA is, and that's not a good thing. Like, most people know the CIA because of the bad things that they've done. So it's like, if I was president, I would probably abolish the CIA. I would probably get rid of them. So that was it. I will tell you though, the FBI, what I will say about the FBI is, the FBI, they're not as bad as the CIA, but they have had a few, I would say, disasters. I think that the stupidest thing the FBI did is, I don't know if I should really tell it because it's a little political, but it was, I'm not even going to mention the person's name. There was a politician, a number of years ago, and this politician had basically had, like, a bunch of emails that were, like, compromised, and what happened was this politician deleted, like, you know, thousands of emails. And what ended up happening is the FBI looked into it, and the FBI said that there's no criminal charges because there is no criminal intent. That's what the FBI said. They said that there's no intent, and so therefore they're not going to pursue charges. But here's the thing about this. That politician, their staff took hammers and, like, smashed a bunch of phones. So, like, the phones that had, like, emails on them, and this sounds like ridiculous what I'm saying, but this actually happened. Like, this politician, their staff took, like, hammers and, like, smashed, like, a bunch of devices, and what they did was they deleted all the emails. And then that politician claimed that they were, like, yoga emails, like, a bunch of other stuff, so they were covering up the whole thing. But I'm just waiting for the next business invite. But here's the thing about this, and I'll tell you this, is it doesn't matter what politics you follow or you support. That case was just handled so poorly, because the FBI claimed. I remember when I was in school, that whole investigation happened, and I remember my teachers, because I studied law enforcement in school, my teachers were actually talking about it, and basically the FBI claimed that the reason they're not pursuing criminal charges was because there was no intent. There was no criminal intent. Now, here's the thing is, in an American court of law, in order to convict somebody, you need to prove both mens rea and actus reus, and those are Latin terms. Mens rea means the guilty state of mind. It means that you have to have intent, you have to plan the crime, you know that it's bad what you're doing, and you're still going through with it. Actus reus is the guilty act itself. He's doing a heist. Oh, I'm sorry. Govan, I can help you with your heist, but I can help you with your heist in, like, 30 minutes. I want to help people with their businesses right now. So what I was getting at is that the FBI did not pursue criminal charges against that politician because they claim that there's no intent. But here's the thing about that. When you take hammers and you smash devices, and not only that, but you delete emails when an investigation is going on, that proves criminal intent right there. The intent is there. The proof is that they tried to get rid of the evidence. That's the intent. They knew what they were doing was wrong. So I don't know how the FBI director can claim, oh, you know, we're not pursuing criminal charges because there's no criminal intent. But just trying to cover up the evidence, trying to destroy evidence, shows intent right there. And so that's what I would say about the FBI. So I don't think the FBI should be abolished. I think the CIA should be abolished because the CIA just causes problems. But the FBI, I think, should just be reformed, more of it. Because the FBI did do a lot of good things in their history. But it's like that situation with that email, that was just really badly handled. That was just really bad. It was just very poorly handled. It was like the people that were in charge of that didn't know what they were doing. And it was just really, really badly handled. That's just what I'll say about that. Okay. Let's just wait for the business here. What were the bad things the CIA did? Involved in the drug trade, military coups across the world supporting dictators, destabilizing governments, doing experiments on people. There's like a number of horrible things the CIA did. Assassinations, you just go on and on and on. There's just so many bad things they've done. the entire plot of Manhunt 2 was actually based on a CIA mind control experiment called Project MKUltra. So that was, Do I believe the CIA had a hand in JFK's assassination? It's possible. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they did have some role, but I don't know. If you don't mind me asking, what is my real life profession? I do two things for a living. The first thing I do is I do YouTube, and then I'm a landlord and I own 2 rental properties, so that's what I do for a living. Well, Watch Dogs, I already have a video processing on it. It's actually gonna come out a little bit later. Oh yeah, I'd love original Modern Warfare 3 remaster. Whoa, whoa. That farmer needs to get his cattle under control. They keep crossing the road. Okay. Well, there wasn't, I don't think there was anything really political about what I said, Dustin. It was just somebody just gave me an option about, asked me about what I think of the FBI, and I just gave a pretty quick statement. I didn't mention any politician's name, and I didn't mention any political party. I just said that investigation I thought was handled poorly. And when I was going to school, pretty much every single one of my professors who was, I had professors who were, former street cops, a professor who was a former DEA agent, a professor who was an arson detective, there was a professor who was in a homicide detective, and, like, every single one of them said that they thought that investigation was handled poorly. So, like, every single one said that. Okay, let's get over here. Ah, great. Yeah, but I remember when there was no when they added animals to GTA Online that like changed so many things. Yeah, I want to do Oblivion. One day I want to do Oblivion. I definitely want to do it. I saw a video about the best content creators for GTA, and he ranked you as #1. Who ranked me as #1? Who? Doesn't FBI only deal with drugs, bombs, etc. in the U.S.? The FBI will deal with really anything. They will deal with, terrorism, cartels. Sometimes it's mostly the DEA who deals with that. But terrorism, cyber scams, organized, groups of criminals, criminals that gangs that are involved in multiple states. There is a... Oh, TGG? Oh, he said I was the best GTA YouTuber. Well, thank you. I was, I appreciate that. What's the name of his video on that? I'm ignoring your comments? No, I'm not ignoring your comments, Zombie Fanatic. There's a lot of people that are posting. Just post your comment again and I'll read it.
Hey, look out! I'm sorry.
I have another one on Claude, and it's gonna be all the gangs that Claude pissed off, Josh.
Yeah, no freaking way!
Well, the Yardies are still hostile to Claude, Mr. Nowhere, at the end of the game. Though only CIA deal with terrorists in different countries. Well, thank you, Nikki, for the super chat. I will read your comment even if you don't super chat. You don't have to super chat for me to read your comment. But wait, there was somebody asking me, oh, what is my thoughts on people who hate on landlords and online socialists as a whole? Here's what I'll tell you about this, and I'm just letting you. I'm just gonna answer Zombie's point, and then I'll answer that. Is a thruster your favorite vehicle in the game because it can somehow avoid oppressor Mark II missiles? Probably not. My favorite vehicle is probably the Sparrow helicopter. Now I just like how easy it's fast and it's just so easy to do missions with. So I'd say Sparrow is probably my favorite one now. Now I'm gonna answer the question. I'm gonna answer the guy's question on landlords. So it's gonna take me like a couple minutes to answer this question. So if I just miss your comment, just know when I finish telling this story, I will come back to everyone's comments about landlords. Landlords get a lot of unnecessary hate. I think that landlords are probably one of the most misunderstood professions. It is technically a job. It's your business. It's your self-employed. But I think that landlords get a lot of unnecessary hate. And I think it's like when people think of landlord, they typically think like scumbag. They think greedy guy doesn't like fix anything around the property and just raises my rent. That's typically what people think when they think of landlords. They think it's some like old guy that doesn't care about you and just raises your rent like every year. What I will say about it is, for me, when I run my properties, it's about customer service. That's what it's about. I always treat my tenants with utmost respect. When my tenants need something, I respond. I'm really quick on it. Whenever they need something, I'm there to help them. That's how I'm. And I literally it was like last week. My tenants were messaged me and told me that the electric stove that's in the house, that the burners were not working correctly, that it was too hot. Like they would turn it on low and it would just get like really hot really quickly. And what I did was I sent over a handyman and he fixed the burners and I paid for it out of my own money. I did not charge them. I paid for it. I take care of my tenants. And I turned on the sprinklers. I had the sprinklers opened up, and part of my lease, I don't even have to open up the sprinklers. I don't have to do that, but I still do that for my tenants. So I have the sprinklers turned on. I pay the guy, to take care of that, check all the sprinklers are working. And so whenever my tenants need something, I'm there for them. I'm not cheap. I'm not greedy. It's my business. It is also I make a living from it. But I believe in good customer service, and I believe that if you have the right tenants and you treat them with respect, they will also treat your property with respect, and that's like people that you'll have for life. And so that's like that's people you want to have a good relationship with. They're living in your house, and you want them to take care of the house too. So you want to have a good relationship with them. I will tell you though. The new tenants that I have now, these tenants have been here for a year, so like their lease is gonna expire in July. But I already talked to the guy who lives there, and I told him like when I came by for the sprinklers, I literally just sat down in the living room and I talked with him and I asked him, I'm like, hey, do you want to stay there for like another year with me? And I told him like, I'm not raising rent. Rent is gonna stay the exact same. I'm not raising it at all. And he's like, cool. I'd love to stay for another year. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we'll set things up. So that's basically how you do things. So like I have no reason to raise the rent. They're nice people. They don't do bad crap. So that's what it is. You keep good customer service and you keep a good relationship with your tenants. Unfortunately, I think that a lot of landlords, they develop a bad reputation. I will tell you though, that guy who lives in that house now, 1 year ago when he moved into the house, I had this agency that I used to basically find tenants. And how it would work is I pay this agency, and I pay them 70% of the first month's rent. So the first month's rent, they take 70% of it. And in exchange for that, they put out the application, they take pictures of the house, they advertise the property, and they find people, they interview people, they do the background check, have them create the lease, sign it, get them in the house, and then after that, the next 11 months, 100% of my rent. So it's not property management, it's just more tenant placement, that's what it's called. But basically, anyways, about it is, this guy that moved into my rental property, right? He was coming in from another state with his family, and they moved in like a week late. And so they didn't pick up the keys. They were like a week late because they were just moving from another state. Like they weren't trying to do anything bad. Like they were just moving from another state, and they were like a week late to move into the property. And like I didn't really have an issue with that, but the company like that I hired got pissed at them. And what they did was they basically charged them like a ridiculous fee for just not picking up the keys and like not paying the first month's rent yet. Like they paid the whole first month's rent. They were just like late a week like the first time, and so like they charged them like a $150 fee. I didn't do that fee. It was like the agency that I had. It was like ridiculous. And what happened was when I talked to my tenants, I basically told them, I'm like, when you guys pay me rent like next month, just pay me $150 less. Just so you don't, you can make up the difference for that fee, because I felt bad about that. Like I didn't think it was fair that agency would like did that to them. Like it was like a $150. I had no idea that they would do something like that, but it was like ridiculous. So like I took $150 less in the rent, and I did that because I believe in like keeping good customer service for your tenants. I believe you have respect for your tenants. You treat them with respect. They'll treat you with respect, and that's basically it. You keep good customer service and you keep good relations. I will say though, and that's exactly what you're right on that, Mark, is there are bad tenants also. Bad tenants that will take advantage of you. I will tell you guys, something with this. I had this one family that moved in, and they were the tenants before this one. I had them for a year. I had them from like summer of 2022 until like summer of 2023. And what happened with that, the first family that I had, the first family, they were kind of okay the first few months, but then like problems started happening. And these tenants who moved in, these guys were multi-millionaires. Like these guys were pretty wealthy. This family was rich. They were loaded. And these guys were way wealthier than me. They had way more money than me. And you're probably thinking, if they're so rich, professional, why are they renting from you if they're so rich? The reason they were renting from me, even though they were so rich, is because they have a business. They have a business in Portland. So like in Oregon and Portland, that's where they were from. And what they were doing is they had a roofing business. They were expanding their business going out east. So they expanded their business into Montana. They went into Wyoming, and then they were going more, and then they came into my state, which is in the Midwest, in the upper Midwest. So they moved in here, and they were like, and each state they had like a building there, and they had like hundreds of workers for them. So they had this pretty big roofing company, and so they had a house in each state. They owned a house, and they were setting up operations in my state here, and they didn't want to buy a new house right away, and so they were gonna rent with me for a year. Now, so this is the idea. People think that oftentimes it's the other way around. They think that the landlord is some really rich guy and the tenant is like really poor. But in this case, it was the tenant. Like I'm not poor, but the tenant was like in this case like way wealthier than me. They had way more money than me. They probably had like 6 times more money than me. Probably even more. Maybe even up to like 10 times. I don't know their exact income, but I know the fact that they have like the business in like a few different states and they have like 100 something employees. They're definitely very, very rich. So anyways, about them is what happened is when they were renting the property with me, like the first few months was fine, but then what happened is after that, like when we got to like the winter, like it was like fall and winter, they were late on the rent like a week. Every single time they were like late like a week. Like it was like 5, 6, 7 days they were late on the rent, and I would just like I would text them. And I would be like, hey guys, I'm like, what's going on? Is there something wrong with the property? Like, why are you not paying rent? And I wasn't like rude about it. I was like asking, is there something wrong with the property? Is there an issue or something like that? And like, she would text me the exact same thing every single time. She would text me, oh no, the property's fine. I'm on a business trip in Montana. I'm sorry. Like, it's like, I'll take care of it tomorrow. And then tomorrow, the next day, like, she would wire me the money. And this happened like multiple times. It happened like more 4 or 5 times. It was like they were like late on rent like a week each time, and then they would just say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on a business trip in Montana. Every single time, oh, I'm always on a business trip in Montana. And like I was getting pissed at that point. Like I was very tolerant. I never charged them a late fee. I should have probably charged them a late fee. I should have done that. But because they knew that because I wasn't charging them a late fee, it was like every single week every month they were pulling that crap, and it was getting me annoyed. It was pissing me off. It was getting me really annoyed. And I'll tell you something. Like, imagine if I bought a roof from them, right? I had them do a roof for me, and then I told them I paid them like a week later. Oh, sorry, I'm on a business trip in Montana. Like, imagine that would not fly with them. So like, and these people were multi-millionaires. These people could afford to pay, but because like they thought that they could just keep doing that every single month, and it was getting really annoying. And maybe one day I'll do like a story talking about this. But then what ended up happening is, there was some drama going on in their family. So in their family, there was drama going on. The drama had nothing to do with me. It was just between them. And so, like, this family had issues. They were very rich, but they had issues with in their family. There were problems. And I didn't even realize the drama until, like, maybe, like, 7, 8 months in, when they were so, like, they were more than half a year in, but they had some drama that was going on. And what happened was, the ridiculous thing is, they tried to bring me into the drama. Like, if I was to talk about the drama, it would probably be like me talking for like a year, an hour long. That's how long it is. It's like a long explanation. But basically, they tried to drag me into the drama, even though I had absolutely nothing to do with it. I was just I'm just a landlord. I'm here to collect rent, and I take care of maintenance. So if you guys need something, if something breaks in the house, I'm there to take care of you. I'm not your therapist. I am not here to take care of your family issues. So, like I said, it had nothing to do with me. It was this drama between their family, and they were trying to drag me into it. And it was just getting ridiculous. And I was like, I don't deal with this stuff. I don't get involved in this family drama nonsense. Like, this is not for me. I'm just a landlord. You guys are just living in my property. And what ended up happening is, when they finally moved out, they moved out like 3 months before their lease expired. They did agree to pay the last 3 months, so they at least paid me for the 3 months that they moved out. What happened is, when I went, I had a keypad in the garage. And the keypad would actually open up a door in the main house. So it was like, you go through the garage, and there was like a keypad on the wall, and the keypad would open up the door to the house. And what happened is, I would usually go in through the garage, I would just punch in the code to get in the garage, and just punch in the keypad, and I would just get in the house that way. And when I moved out, and I put that code into that keypad, the code would not work. It wouldn't. And I tried to put it in several times, and I texted the husband who lived there. I'm like, did you change the code? No, I didn't. I texted the wife, did you change the code? No, I didn't. And what I ended up doing, I brought over my handyman, who, like, he helps me with a lot of the stuff. He fixes stuff, like, on my rental properties. And I told him, like, can you take a look at this panel, please? Like, I cannot, the code doesn't work. And he looks at it, he's like, Pat, they changed the code. Like, that's what he said. And I'm like, can you change it? And he tried his best to change the code. He couldn't do it. He couldn't, and my handyman was not lying to me. I trust him completely. He's an honest guy. I've known him for, like, 2-3 years. So he's a really good guy. And he spent, like, an hour just, like, at the panel trying to change the code. He could not change the code. He couldn't change it. And, like, I felt bad. And, like, and he, at that point, he's like, I can't change it. I'm gonna go home. And he didn't even try to charge me for anything. I told him, like, let me pay you for your trouble. And he's like, no. Like, I didn't do anything. You don't have to pay me. I still gave him $20 because I felt bad. He didn't want any money, but I still gave him $20. I felt bad that he was there for like an hour and he didn't even manage to, like, he wasn't able to do anything. Like, he tried his best, but he didn't even want money. So he was a pretty honest guy. And then I ordered, like, a new panel and a new keypad panel, and he came back by like an hour, a week later. I paid him for that installation, and he installed me like a new keypad. But it was like I was pissed because, like, I had to get a whole new keypad in that property. Maybe I could have brought charges against them. Maybe if I complained to, like, the local court or something like that, I could have possibly proved that they changed, like, the code. But honestly, the reason I never brought it to the court, the reason I never did that, because I did not want to deal with that family anymore. Like, the drama was just constantly, like, just with that family. It was a sort of control that I was like, screw it. I don't even want to get them in court. I don't want to deal with this stuff anymore. I just want to be, don't want to deal with them anymore. So that was just it. So literally, it's like, dude, did I deserve that? Like, all that family drama, like, constantly, like, not paying, like, a week late on the rent, like, changing my keypad, code, like, screwing me over. Like, I was always there for them whenever they needed properties fixed. I never screwed them over. I never, did anything bad to them. And so that's the thing, is that you don't just have scummy landlords, you also have scummy tenants. That's situations like that happen. But this new family that I've had for, like, a year, I've never had any issues. Like, nothing bad has happened. They're always really nice people. They pay on time. There's no drama, none of that stuff. So, they're nice people. So, that's why I'm not raising rent on them and stuff like that. And one of the other comments I was reading before, one guy told me, like, shouldn't you raise rent a little bit every year? Not really. If I have really good tenants that are not going to cause any issues, I'm not raising rent. So I'm just not doing that. It's just, but that's what I'll say about it, is that you also have bad tenants. You have tenants that screw me over. And also, I'll tell you something else. I know that that rich couple that was living at that property, I know that they were lying to me also. And I have proof that they were lying to me. Because what happened is, maybe I'll do like a video explaining like the whole drama that happened one day. But basically, they had an extra person that lived at that property. And they were not supposed to have an extra person that lived at that property. Originally, what happened was, she texted me, she told me, hey, my brother-in-law is in town, and, like, he wants to stay here for, like, a month. He's, like, looking for a property, can he stay here? And I said, sure, no problem. I didn't charge him anything extra. I said, it's fine, your brother-in-law could stay for, like, a month. And what ends up happening is, the brother-in-law actually stayed there for 8 months, instead of staying there for 1 month. And I had no idea that he was there for 8 months. I didn't know about that. And that was one of the people that was involved in the drama, was him with his the brother-in-law was involved in the drama with the husband and the wife. But anyways, what happened is the brother-in-law was actually the one who contacted me, and he called me. And, like, I didn't even know how he got my number. And I'm like, you know, who's this? And he's like, oh, I live at your rental property. Are you, like, the landlord? I'm like, yeah. But, like, who are you? And he's like, oh, you know, I'm this brother-in-law. I've been living there for, like, a month now. Or, no, 8 months. And I'm like, what? Like, seriously? Like, you've been living there for that long? And I'm like, you know, where are the tenants? Where are they? And he's like, oh, they went back to Portland. They're living in Oregon now. I'm still living here at the rental property. And it was just a bunch of, like, just stupid drama that was going on. And he could have been the one who changed the code also on the keypad. It might have been him. But anyways, about it is, about that guy that lived at the property, when I was looking at the mail, when they moved out, there was, like, 3 months left on the lease, they moved out, I looked at the mail, when there's, like, a bunch of mail that came in, and one of the names that was on the mail was that brother-in-law, his name. And what happened is, I contacted the tenant who lived there, her sister, because her sister was still in the, in town managing the business, and I told her, I'm like, you got a lot of mail, you gotta come and pick this mail up. There's, like, so much mail in the mailbox, you guys gotta get rid of this mail. And I basically asked her, I'm like, who is this other person on the mail, on the letter? And she basically says to me, she's like, oh, well, that's probably junk mail, like, she started saying that to me, and I know at that point she was lying to me, because I know that that person was the person who had lived at the property for 8 months. So she basically lied to me on that, and you know, I didn't want anything to do with that family anymore at that point. Like, I just wanted this not to deal with them anymore. It was, that drama was just ridiculous, and the crazy thing about this is these were the first tenants that I ever got. Like, the first tenants I ever got. And so, like, you can imagine, it's like my first time being a landlord, and I had to deal with this. So, like, it was a very, bad experience. That's what I'll say about that. But thankfully, I haven't dealt with them. They haven't dealt with them for a year. They've been gone on the property. They're gone. And that's it. So, like I said, these people are multimillionaires, and yet they acted like scumbags. So so it's not always the landlord that is the scumbag. Sometimes it is the tenants who are the scumbags. Let me see here. Yeah, well, that line just came out of nowhere, trophy guys. I was just a bit surprised by that. You are a kind person, thank you. Oh, I think that was an accident. I don't think he meant to do that. I have paid my landlord every month before due date and never caused an issue, and he has not raised rent. Literally, and this is what I recommend that you guys do. If you guys have a local landlord, sometimes having a local landlord is way better than having a multi-corporation. Like, if you're renting from a multi-corporation, like a giant corporation, it is very hard to negotiate rent with a large company. Very, very hard. Like, they will not budge. If you are dealing with a local landlord, you have a better chance of negotiating rent. And so I will say this, if you rent from a local landlord, like, he's not a giant company, he's a guy who maybe, like, owns a few rental properties, if your lease is about to expire, just make sure you always pay your rent on time, like, even 1 day early. That makes a landlord really happy when you do stuff like that. And when your lease is about to expire, if your landlord tries to raise rent on you, just basically say to him or her, just say, listen, you know, I've taken care of the property, I don't constantly call you, you know, I always pay my rent 1 day early on time, I've been a good tenant, can you please not raise the rent on me? Like, say stuff like that, and you might be able to negotiate with that, and you might not get a rent increase. So that's what I say is, like, you know, pay the rent on time always, you know, try to have a good relationship with your landlord, and just basically that is when your rent is about to go up, just say that. That's all you gotta do. You know, maybe they'll agree, maybe they won't agree, but you have a better chance, like I said, of trying to get a better deal with a local landlord than deal with a large corporation. The large corporations are a massive problem. So, like, somebody like me that I own 2 rental properties. Somebody like me, I'm not part of the problem. I'm not part of the housing problem in America. The large corporations who buy, like, hundreds of homes, those are the people that are causing housing problems. Not me. I'm just a small business owner. That's it. But about those large corporations, that same company that did the tenant placement for me, when they were finding my tenants, they own, like, literally, like 50 to 100, like, 100 houses in my town alone. So, like, I live in a pretty large town. I guess maybe we'll call it a city, but we call it probably a town in New York, but by the size of it. But it's a town that's in the upper Midwest. But they basically own so many properties in the town. It is ridiculous. And I tried to call them, like, last week to see if they could find, like, a new tenant for, like, my new property, my new rental property, and they basically told me that they're not going to do business with me anymore. And I asked them, like, why, and they said to me that there's too many landlords that are competing with them, and they're taking business away from them. At least they were, like, honest with me. At least they didn't try to BS it, but they really, and I was a bit surprised by that they didn't want to do business with me anymore, but that's basically what they said, is that they're not doing tenant placement anymore because they're competing with other landlords. And, like, I'm, like, thinking to myself, I literally own 2 rental properties. It's like, how am I competition for you when you own, like, literally, like, 100 properties in this town? Like, that's ridiculous. So, like, they wouldn't even find a tenant for me. Like, I was gonna pay for them to find somebody, but they didn't even want to. And what the guy, they were telling me, oh, you know, you can do property management with us, and you can pay us, like, you know, 10-20%, like, you know, your rent every month, and we'll take care of the property for you. It's like, no. It's like, you know, I'm not gonna pay you, like, a fee every month to manage my properties. I'm gonna take care of that. And that company is sort of control that they have purchased, like, a house that was on my, the street that I own the rental property on. They purchased a house on that exact street also, and they're renting it out too now. And so that's what I say, is these companies who, like, purchase up these houses, these companies are a huge part of the problem. I think the government should be encouraging local landlords. That's what I think. I think the government should encourage local landlords. I don't think that it should be I don't think that it should be that that's you know, yeah, that's large companies. And here's the thing is, I am very libertarian. I'm a very big free market guy. But in my personal opinion, I think there should be some regulation on that. I think there should be, like, a limit on, like, there should be, like, some kind of regulation that says, like, a large corporation cannot own a certain percentage of, like, houses. I'm not saying to completely ban them from buying houses, but, like, they should not be able to buy a certain percent of, like, the houses in, like, a city or a town. Because that's basically a monopoly. If they manage to buy, like, pretty much the vast majority of rental properties in a town, that is pretty much creating a monopoly. And one of the things about America, one thing we strongly believe in America is we believe in competition. We believe very strongly competition. That is the American ideal, is competition in business. Is you have 2 businesses who are basically competing with each other, and they're gonna offer the consumer the best price. But when you have, like, one giant company that's pretty much purchasing up all the rental properties, they're gonna charge whatever rent they want. People can't. It's gonna screw everyone over. It's gonna screw over people that are trying to buy houses, and it's also gonna screw over local landlords who are just trying to start up their businesses. So, like, everybody loses at that point when a large corporation, like, you know, purchases up, like, tons of properties. Local landlords, and also, you know, people want to buy houses. So, like, there's plenty of people that get screwed over by that. So that's what I would say, is that I think there should be, like, a cap, and I think there should be some limits on, like, these large corporations being able to, like, buy up. Like I said, I'm a free market guy. I'm not a socialist by any means. I'm a pretty libertarian guy, but I think, in my personal experience being a landlord, like, you know, before I became a landlord, I really had no problem with corporations buying up land. I thought there was this free market. But when I personally saw it in effect, I saw, like, corporations doing this and just purchasing up, like, tons of houses, I pretty much changed my mind on it. And I think there should be some regulation in that regard. There should be, like, something that says, like, a corporation cannot own a certain percentage of homes in, like, a town. Because I think that is just too much. Let me see here. My favorite superhero as a kid? Probably Spider-Man, I would say. Yeah, probably Spider-Man. The 1990 Spider-Man cartoon. I like that one. Hey, Professional, hope you're good. I'm good, Tripstar. Thank you, man, for the super chat. Will I ever do Uber Eats as a second job? I considered it sometimes, but I just because I like driving around, but I never really had time for it. But yeah, that's what I say, is I think that there personally, for me, there is no reason why a corporation should own, like, 100 homes in, like, one town. That is ridiculous, and I think that's just too much. That's yes, LA Noire, probably tomorrow or the next day I'll upload it. Does anybody want to do a heist? I'll help people with a heist right after this, by the way. But yeah, just make sure you guys keep that in mind, that there are plenty of really good and honest landlords that are not gonna, you know, screw you over. They're not gonna do anything bad. And, like, my tenants that, like, I have, you know, we already talked about it, and basically what we did was we just got into a group chat in just text messages, and I basically said to them in the group chat, I'm like, you know, I promise not to raise rent for like a whole year. Like, do you guys, you know, agree to that? And they both agreed yes in the text messages. That's pretty much what I did. I originally had a lease with them, but I trust them. And so it's just, I didn't want to, you know, create a whole lease just to have them, like, sign that for that. So if you really trust your tenants, you can do that. Just have, like, an agreement. But it's better to have it as at least a text message, so you have some proof. But that's basically it. I'll tell you something. My friend, who I grew up with in New York, he moved to Maine, and he's a state trooper in Maine. And I visited him last year. And he lives in a very small town in Maine, and he lives in literally the woods in Maine, like deep in the woods. And in his town, there's a landlord there that he owns, probably like I would say like 10 properties in that town. But that landlord is actually a very decent, honest guy. He's an older guy. But I saw his house. His house is gigantic. Like he is a very rich man. He lives in like a palace. It's like a huge, like, it has like this, it's like a gate, and then it has like this huge driveway up a hill. It's like literally a palace. But anyways, about the guy, the landlord there in that town lives pretty well, but he's very fair to his tenants. He's not a scumbag. He's not greedy. You know, he doesn't do like, you know, any crap. And my friend has lived there for like 4 or 5 years, and in 4 or 5 years he's lived there, he has not raised rent on him once. Not once. He has not done that once to him. And not the only time he has raised rent on my friend is when my friend got a cat. That was the only time. I think it was like an extra $25 a month. That was it. So he never raised rent on him. So like I said, there are good, honest landlords that are not scummy. They don't do crap like that. But unfortunately, the way society looks at this is society always thinks that, like, oh, the landlord is some evil, horrible, you know, greedy person and just trying to screw the tenants over constantly. Can I join your session? Are you full-time? Well, you can join my session. Yeah, you can join. Do you want to be part of the heist, Aussie guy? We're going to be doing in a little bit. Do you want to join on the heist? If I can change the punishments for crimes, what would they be? Oh, what I would do is, I would do a few different things. I would say that when it comes to drugs, what I would do is I would make it so having possession of drugs should not be illegal. I mean, should not be illegal. But if you intend to distribute it, like if you're a drug dealer, the punishments for selling drugs should be increased by double. If I had my way. But like for just possession of drugs, I don't think that it should be like you know, a criminal offense. However, though, I do think that the person should be forced to go to rehab. If they don't want to go to rehab, then put them in jail. So like if you have like a drug addict and you arrest them, I think that the solution should be is the drug addict goes before a judge, and the judge tells him, like, we'll give you 2 choices. You can either go to rehab and you can get cleaned up, and once you finish rehab, you will not have any kind of criminal record. It will be gone. But if you don't want to go to rehab, is, you know, we're going to arrest you and you're going to be put in jail. And so give them a choice, because the first step of, you know, drug addiction is admitting that you have a problem. And so that's what I would say is about fixing the drug crisis. Increase the penalties on drug dealers by double what the penalties are right now. And that's for, you know, people who are addicted to drugs, force them to go to rehab, not jail. I would also, another thing I would also do is, I think that, and this one might seem a bit controversial, but I personally think if you are a felon and you have gotten out of prison, I think that you should have your gun rights restored. Because in the U.S., if you are convicted of a felony, you are never allowed to own a firearm again, and I think that that's wrong. I think that if you do your time and you pay your debt to society and you change, I think that you should have your gun rights restored. I don't think that that should be taken away from somebody for the rest of their lives. You know, people might disagree with me, but I don't think that they should lose that for the rest of their lives. If they change, if they're, like, you know, reformed, I think that that should be restored. Why does a corporation get to own thousands of homes and pay rent, but if they want a new factory built, taxpayers pay it, the owner should pay? Yeah, I mean, and that, what you're thinking of is you're thinking of eminent domain, when the government can basically, like, seize somebody's property. It's ridiculous. There are rare cases where eminent domain is justified, but it's very rare. Most of the cases where eminent domain is used is like abuse of corporate power. The only time I could see where eminent domain would be justified is if they're like, if the government is trying to build like a bridge or like a highway, like, you know, some like really important piece of infrastructure, and like they're offering the person like a deal for their land and they don't want. Then at that point, yes, to a degree I could understand why. But if it's like, you know, telling somebody, oh, you know, we're gonna build like some giant, like, you know, BMW car parking lot or something like that on your property, it's just stupid and it's dumb, and the government should not have the right to seize your property over that. That's just dumb. How did Portugal successfully decriminalize drugs but Oregon failed? Simple. It's a simple, because there's a simple difference. In Portugal, here's what people don't know about Portugal. People think that in Portugal drugs are legal. Drugs are not legal in Portugal. What the difference is that in Portugal you will not be arrested for drug possession. So if you have like heroin or cocaine, you know, stuff like that, meth, in Portugal, you're not going to get arrested for that. The government is going to take it away from you. So if they catch you with, like, you know, drugs, they're going to take the drugs away from you and they're going to destroy them. And they're going to force you to go to rehab. They're going to tell you, go to rehab. But if you're selling drugs in Portugal, like meth, coke, and stuff like that, you're going to get arrested. The problem with Portland is that they were not prosecuting people for it. So, like, you had drug dealers that were on the streets and they were claiming, oh, I'm just a drug addict. And the police were not doing anything about that. And not only that, the police were going up to people and they were just giving them like a piece of paper and they were like, call this number, it's a drug help hotline. And nobody would call the number. It's like the stupidest thing ever. It's like you go up to somebody that's a drug addict and you just give them like a piece of paper and you tell them, call the drug hotline. Like, nobody's gonna do that. So it's like you have to force them to do it. You have to tell them, go to rehab. That's what you have to force them. It should be a court order to tell them to go to rehab. It should not be like, you know, give them a piece of paper and have them call the number. So that's why I say Portland failed. It was just like, it's such a disaster with their drug policies. It's such a the politicians were so stupid. Are you on Steam, on console, PlayStation? And thank you, Peter, for the super chat. It's okay, Aussie guy. You don't have to be that great at heist. You can still play with us. Hey, professional, I have to ask, what would you do if you saw somebody getting beat up with while you were walking down the street? I don't think I've asked this before. If I saw somebody getting attacked, it would depend on the situation. If I think I can stop the attacker, I would help. If I think I could stop the attacker, but if the attacker is like literally 2 or 3 times my size, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call the police and scream. I'm gonna scream at the person, like, get off them. I'm calling the police. I'm gonna, like, you know, be within a little distance, but I'm gonna scream where the person can like hear me, and I'm gonna say, get off them. I'm calling the police. So that's what I would do. If I think I can get them off, I'll help physically. If I don't think I can get them off, I'll scream at the person so they notice my attention. I'll say I'm calling the police, try to get them to stop, and, you know, hopefully, you know, they stop at that point. But yeah, I'd probably, if it was like a giant person, I probably would not intervene, because I think that I would get, you know, seriously injured at that point. But I wouldn't just sit there and do nothing. You know, I would call the police, I would scream at the person. So that's the situation. It depends on how big the person is, really. But I wouldn't just sit there and do nothing. I would try to help as best I can. What about drug lords? What's your policy on drug lords and drug barons? How would they be punished? Drug lords? I think drug lords should get the death penalty. That's what I think. I know that might sound severe, but every single drug lord is a murderer. There is not one drug lord that I can think of who has not murdered somebody. Like, every single drug lord has murdered somebody. So by default, every drug lord should get the death penalty. That's what I think personally. I think yeah, I have no toleration for drug lords. That's what I would say. So many people will now record attackers. I know that. You know, people are scumbags. Or you can beat them up. Like I said, is if somebody's getting attacked, and I think I can overpower the person, I'll help physically. So, like, I will get them off the person. Like, I won't use the term beat up, but I would stop them physically. But if I don't think I can stop the person's, like, you know, much bigger than me, I would scream at the person and, like, you know, tell them I'm calling the police. So, okay, that's okay, Aussie guy, but I'm about to do a heist though right after this. Can somebody invite me to a heist? I want to help with a heist now. Can somebody invite me? Well, I could possibly help you, Peter, another time. I can't add anybody during the stream, so I could probably help you another time. Pro, your opinion on plea deals? I'll tell you something. There are certain plea deals that I would not take. That's the thing about it. Is that here's the thing is, if I was like a prosecutor, right? And there was like, and I was dealing with like a murderer, and what happened is, I was talking to like the family, and I would ask the family, I was like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to get this guy in for life? Or do you want me to pursue the death penalty? Like, I would ask the family what they want. And if they told me that they want the death penalty, if the murderer tried to say, oh, I want to do a plea deal so I can avoid the death penalty, I'd say, no, you know, we're taking this to trial. If I was like completely confident that we have the evidence against him, like we have enough evidence to convict him, I was like, we're not taking a plea deal. You know, we're going this to trial, and you're gonna get the death penalty. That's really what I would, So some plea deals I would not accept. Would 1400 laws work in the U.S.? You mean what? You mean like religious laws? No. No, laws should never be designed around religion. No law should ever be designed around religion. That's no. Who has a heist I can help them with it? Also, would you do a video on the Uvalde lawsuit I told you about? I could look into it, yeah. Blinded Eagle, thank you for the super chat. Can you send me an article on it? Thoughts on corrupt cops behind enemy payroll? What do you mean? What do you mean enemy payroll? What do you mean by that exactly? Can you explain a little bit, Nikki? What you mean by that? You don't have to super chat me again. I'll look for your comment. Do I think hanging is too harsh? Yeah, you could make the argument hanging is painful. Yep. I have a friend who thinks we should tax the church. No, I think that you know, I think religions should get a you know, a tax exemption, but I think the way I personally see it, religions should be tax exempt, but they should not be allowed in politics. That's just my personal viewpoint. Is like, you know, I don't think they should be allowed to donate politically. So like, I think that if religions should be able to, you know, not pay taxes, but they shouldn't be involved politically. That's what I would say about it. I mean, I don't have a problem with like a religion taking a political position, but like I'm saying is when it gets to the point like donating to a political candidate or like openly endorsing like a political candidate, that's what I would say about that. You know, I'll tell you something. When it comes to that, and I will tell you guys something. I will tell you guys something historically that that will piss off both people. I will tell you guys something that will piss off both right-wing and left-wing extremists, because both people that are, you know, very like, you know, on the left, or both people that are very on the right, they both actually lie about the foundation of America, both of them. So I'll start with the left, for example. The number one thing that the left lies about when it comes to American history is the Second Amendment. That is the number one thing that they lie about. They say, oh, you know, the founding fathers never intended for, you know, people to have these weapons. They were just, it was meant for be a militia. It was never meant for be the citizens. The citizens are the militia. That is, if you look at the history, if you look at the Federalist Papers, James Madison, the guy who wrote it, it was pretty much, they very much intended for people to carry arms to protect themselves from a tyrannical government. Now that's the thing the left lies about when it comes to American history. The thing the right lies about when it comes to American history is they lie that the American founding fathers were like these really religious guys. They were like these devout Christians that wanted America to be based on like Judeo-Christian values. That's not true. That is a lie also. That is false. If you look at the religions of a lot of the American founding fathers, a lot of them were they were kind of agnostic but more deist. Well, deist is basically the belief in a god, but it's that they believe that God refrains from human activity. They don't get involved in human affairs at all. They believe that you only go to that God when you die. So they believe that they are very non-religious people. There were some founding fathers that were a bit more religious, but the vast majority of founding fathers were very non-religious people. You know, George Washington, very non-religious. Thomas Jefferson, very non-religious. John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, John Jay, Alexander Hamilton, who is the other one? Thomas Paine. All these founding fathers that I listed to you, their religious views, they're very non-religious. They didn't like hate religion, but they were like, the only founding father that hated religion was Thomas Paine. He was the only one who was hostile to religion. But like all the other founding fathers, they were like very, neutral towards religion, and they didn't get involved in religious affairs. They did not want like, American law to have anything to do with religion. So that's what I say is the problem is that you have people, when it comes to history, you have people that will basically lie about history, and they will lie about history to basically create a political agenda. Like I said, the left lies about the history of the Second Amendment. The right lies about the founding fathers being really religious people. So that is literally you have people that distort the history when you can look both of these things up. But are we doing a heist now? I want to tell people the heist right here now. They heavily swayed towards Freemasonry. Well, the Freemasonry wasn't a religion. It was more just like a club at that time. That's all it basically was. Like there's all these conspiracies. Like people think that it's some Illuminati stuff. No, it's just nonsense. It was just a bunch of people that were just in this club. It was like a non-religious club. It was basically talked about like things like human rights, individual liberty. That's what they talked about. I agree the Freemasons were a little weird. I agree on that. They were a bit weird, but it wasn't like some like cult that was like going for world domination. People think that like that's just not true. I wouldn't say it was necessarily a secret society because a lot of people were very open about it. But it was just like, it was like a private society. That's what I would say more about it. It wasn't like, it wasn't like these conspiracies that people have that it's like, that they wanted to conquer the world and stuff like that. It's like, no. Literally, I tell you something. If the founding fathers were some like evil Freemasons that wanted to like control the world and stuff like that, they would not have wanted civilians to own guns. They would not have supported a really small government. They would not have put all these checks and balances on government. They would have put the most authoritarian government possible. So that's so don't believe those conspiracies. Enemy boss paying cops to do dirty work. For example, Fast and Furious 5, crime lord Reyes paid cops to hide dirty money behind a safe. Oh yeah, there is definitely corruption like that. The thing is though is, as far as I know, corruption is not on that scale in the United States. Where you have like entire police departments that are corrupt. Usually it doesn't happen. It did happen decades ago, but for the most part in America, when you have corruption, it's individual corruption where it's like a few cops, but it's not like an entire police station or like an entire police unit that's corrupt. The last time that we had that where an entire police unit was corrupt was like in the 90s when we had like Crash, for example, in like Los Angeles. That was like a perfect example, like an entire police unit that was pretty much corrupt. But like these days, corruption is a lot less. It still happens. I'm not denying that there's corrupt cops. There definitely are, but it's not like where it's like an entire unit that's corrupt. That doesn't like really happen. It's more like an individual cop. Like a few cops might be involved. Maybe the police chief will be corrupt, but like I doubt like every single cop in a unit would be like corrupt. Let me see here. We getting back to heist. I can come back. Okay, Blinded Eagle. Are you in this heist right now? Wasn't looking. Hey Pro, my sanity is being tested. I have to reinstall my PS5 games. I thought I was taking out the old SSD, but it can stay in the console, so this means I have more storage. Oh, okay. You have to reinstall your PS5 games. I thought I was taking out, but okay. Yeah, well, I guess that's that you have more storage. You know one thing I didn't like about the PS5 as the internal storage devices, that you can't record clips on them. So like when you record like clips, it always goes to your default like hard drive. It doesn't go to your external, or internal I should say. I wanted it to go to my internal extra hard drive that I put in, but it was like I don't think there was like a way for me to change that. Freemasonry is not a secret society, but a society with secrets. Yeah, well, I know that one of the Freemason policies was like they can't discuss politics. I think that's one of their policies. So like for a group that people are claiming wants world domination, one of their policies is they can't discuss politics. So literally honestly, like it's just like don't believe those conspiracies. And I'll tell you something. Those Freemason conspiracies, do you know where those Freemason conspiracies actually come from? The origins of them, like that are saying like, oh, Freemasons want to conquer the world. You know where those conspiracies actually come from? Those conspiracies were actually created by a bunch of rich, powerful aristocrats. Rich, powerful aristocrats and rich, powerful religious leaders that like lived in like feudalistic Europe like hundreds of years ago, and those people actually wanted world domination. So it's kind of ironic. The people who created the conspiracies claiming the Freemasons wanted to control the world were actually the people who wanted world domination. So you had like these really rich, powerful aristocrats who basically just wanted complete control. They supported monarchy. They supported absolute monarchy. They supported all of these, really extremist religious laws, and they were just yeah, I'm driving. And that's and so they were basically anybody that disagreed with the aristocrats, like if you disagreed with the aristocrats, if you disagreed with the monarchy, like back then, do you know what they would say? They would say, oh, you're a Satanist, you're against the church, you hate God, you hate religion. So like if you disagreed with any kind of aristocratic power, if you disagreed with monarchy, these people would slander you, these people would try to make you look bad. And that's basically what the aristocrats do. Is in France, for example, when the French Revolution happened, you had like all of these rich, powerful aristocrats who would say, oh, the French people weren't angry, they were just misled by the Freemasons, and the Freemasons had like caused the French Revolution. No. Do you know what caused the French Revolution? It wasn't Freemasons. It was really pissed off peasants that were treated like garbage, and they were treated like dirt by the aristocrats. The wealthy elites that were in France treated the common man and woman like garbage. They treated the peasants like garbage. Peasants had no rights, and the peasants got really pissed off at constantly being treated like garbage, and they overthrew the government. That is basically what happened with the French Revolution. But according to the conspiracy theories, it's like a Freemason plot and all this other stuff. So like, don't listen to those people who engage in like those Freemason conspiracies. I agree the Freemasons are kind of weird. I agree they're weird, but like I don't believe this conspiracy that is like some like plot to like take over the world and stuff like that. Why do communists hate private land ownership? Because it goes against basically the idea of Marxism. Because the idea of Marxism is against private property. They believe that private property is linked directly to capitalism. They believe that if you are a property owner, you are a landowner, and you are therefore exploiting the wages and labor of the working class. That is basically what communists believe, and so that's why they're so hostile to landowners.
Okay, so far so bueno. Push on to the...
Let's see, can I send you a PlayStation message explaining GTA 2's respect system, since talking about it in the comments would be going over the limit? That's fine, Dillingham. Do you have me added? You can just send it to me. But Russia is for private ownership. Well, Russia is not a communist country today. John Adams was so non-religious, his brother made beer. Also with heists, I want to help. Not secret, but private. Masons were the first Illuminati. Well, like I said, I think, like... okay, let's see here. Damn, Lester should be quiet here. Okay, so what I was saying is, were a lot of the American founding fathers involved in Freemasonry? Yes, some of them were. But it's like, they created a government and an idea that values individual liberty. That values, like, the freedom above everything else. Limited government, checks and balances in government, to prevent government from becoming tyrannical. I mean, they supported, like, citizens owning guns to keep the government in check. So this idea that the founding fathers like supported like world domination, some Illuminati stuff, it is just nonsense, and it's just that was created by monarchies. It was the monarchies and the aristocrats who created that, basically to slander the founding fathers and make the founding fathers look bad. That is basically where those conspiracies come from. That's I mean, like, for example, like if you look at somebody like Benjamin Franklin, like Benjamin Franklin was so against slavery that, do you know what he did? He actually wrote in his will that if any of his kids have slaves, they will not be able to get any of their inheritance until they free all their slaves. That's what Benjamin Franklin wrote in his will. So this idea that, like, you know, people like Benjamin Franklin were like evil, or they wanted to, like, you know, world domination and stuff like that, it's like, no. Like I said, those conspiracies were basically created against by, like, the monarchies, the kings and the queens and the aristocrats who created those conspiracy theories to basically make the founding fathers look bad, because they were pissed off that basically the U.S. broke away from the UK. You could argue that it was actually the monarchies who wanted world domination, not the founding fathers. Is private land ownership a constitutional right? Well, you don't get, like, you don't have a right to get free property, but you have a right to own property. That's, can you help me with my casino afterwards? Sure, Jeremiah, I can help you with it. Do I think monarchy is good? No, I hate monarchy. I don't like monarchy. You know, I'm an American. You have to, you know, you have to understand, you know, my perspective a bit on it. Is like, you know, my country was oppressed severely by monarchy, you know, and so, you know, we broke away to get away from a monarchy. So Americans typically don't like monarchy. But however, though, is I will tell you this, I don't have anything against any, you know, monarchy necessarily in other countries. So, like, if it comes to, like, the British monarchy, I don't, you know, I don't hate the British monarchy, I don't dislike the British monarchy, but I would not want a monarchy in my country. If there was a monarchy in my country, I probably would be calling for it to be overthrown. But I have nothing against the British, like, wanting, like, a monarchy in their country, because it's part of their culture and it's part of their history. So if the British want, like, a monarchy in their country, that's perfectly fine with me, because it's their country and it's their culture. But I would not want a monarchy in my country. That's just what I would say about it.
Time's up. Here comes the nerve agent. Get the hell out of there before you get a long fall.
Oh, okay, I guess we're shooting our way out. Okay, let's go. Here.
We cleaned him out. All right.
Okay,
let's
swipe.
get out of the frying pan and back into the fire. Break out the key cards.
Patrick, what if someone argues, so what? It's part of their culture. Monarchies are redundant. I think it should be up to the people. If the people want a monarchy, it's their choice. That's just it. I would not want it in my country. That's just what I say. Like, Americans dislike monarchy. They don't like monarchy, but, you know, but in a country like Britain, for example, the opinion might be very different. So it's just, that's what I'll say about that. Get over here.
Shield yourself somehow. God damn it! Inbred moron! Don't goddamn me!
Okay,
We are going to have some very satisfied customers.
Well, I'm not really gonna comment on stuff like that, Cringe name. I would just say is, you know, I have nothing against gay marriage personally. I think that, like, you know, I don't like video games, you know, pushing political stuff. You know, that's all I'll say about it. But I have no issue personally with gay marriage. Do you like anarchy? No. I will say though that I think that when if you want, I'll answer this point for you. I think that when it comes to sexual education, I think that the parents should teach the kids that. I don't think that should. Oh crap! I don't think. Oh, I didn't even know that there was a headbutt animation in this game. That's the first time I'm finding about that now. I never seen that animation before, but I think that any kind of sexual education should just be done by the parents. I don't think the school should just be involved in that. And this is regardless. It doesn't matter the sexual orientation. Doesn't matter to me. Any sexual stuff, you know, whether straight or gay, I think that the parents should just teach it to their kids. I don't have any problem with gay marriage. I think it should be legal. I agree with the Supreme Court decision for all 50 states. But I think that, you know, just when it comes to sexual education, it should just not, you know, be in school. I think the parents should just teach the kids that. That's just my view. Okay.
The driver has them in position.
Yeah, I didn't even know that there's a headbutt animation in the game. That's the first time I've seen that animation. I've never seen a headbutt animation in GTA Online. I didn't even know it exists. Let's get over. Yes, yes, Gunner, I would love to play it, but I don't have that many people to play. We can't fill up a full match of cops and robbers. If you want to play with me, you're more than welcome to, but we don't have enough people. I know about Undercover Cop and Cops and Robbers and Kane and Lynch too, but we don't have enough people. I can maybe make a second video doing Undercover Cop, but I want to get like a full lobby for that going. So if anybody ever wants to play with Kane and Lynch 2 with me, Kane and Lynch 2 Dog Days on PS3, you're more than welcome to. Yeah. I made a video on that the other day, but... Why can't I hear you? I don't know, Brandon. Did you get my messages on the game chat? What were you sending me on the game chat? I am Batman, thank you for the super chat. You know, the super chat you get, I'll look for the comment, but... These are the best getaway cars in the game. I haven't seen these cars in a long time.
Wow, we really kicked the hornet's nest. It's amazing how fast the police response time is when the guy calling 911 is a billionaire. Or should I say, ex-billionaire.
That's true. If you call, if a rich person is calling 911, the police are going to respond faster. To a degree, that's true.
Just got word from the decoy. We don't have long before they have to tap out. Make the most of it.
We're good. We're good over here, old Titan.
Alright, the decoy is out. You're on your own now.
Damn, where are all these cops coming from? Okay. Shouldn't I be losing the cops by now? Now I am, okay. Gotta get away from them. I'll answer just one moment, Suspect 13. I'm just trying to lose the cops right now here. There we go.
channels, they are pissed. I'm not one to be premature. I'm not whatever they told you, but hear me when I say that we are on the verge of pulling off the single greatest feat of organized criminality this city has ever seen. Admittedly, I'm knocking myself off the top spot, but that doesn't matter. We are seconds away from the history books, my friends. I wasn't sure I should come out of retirement, but professionally at least, it looks like a good call. Yeah?
You are the professional. You can lose the cops easily. Thank you.
Say tequila. Almost there. Find the buyer, and this is a done deal.
There we go. Okay, do I think Nico Bellic deserves to be a third playable character in the second half of GTA 6? He will be legendary to you'll be legendary to close out the H universe. I don't think he's ever gonna come back as a playable character. I mean, it wouldn't make sense. I mean, I don't think Nico would really come back, especially he would be in Vice City. No, I don't think so. Suspect 13. I don't think it would work. I'm not gonna get into that whole thing, cringe name. Thank you for the super chat, but I just want to stay away from all the politics and all the stuff. I just don't really want to get involved in that stuff. No, it wasn't, Preston. What do you know about the Cold War and modern-day Japanese guns? I know they have very strict policies to prevent those guns from being exported. I will tell you though, I know that a number of years ago, like Japan was gonna destroy a bunch of like Arasaka rifles, like, you know, World War II rifles, and like a lot of Americans complained about that, and so they ended up selling those firearms to like Americans. But yeah, I think that's personally stupid, like destroying a bunch of like old World War II firearms because they're historical guns, and so I think it's like, you know, if you don't want them in your country, okay, but like then just, you know, sell them to somebody else in another country who might want them. That's a better way to get rid of them. Nico versus Trevor versus CJ, fight to the death. Who wins? Fight to the death. When it comes to shooting, Nico would win that fight. If it comes to hand to hand, CJ would win that fight. If it comes to anything involving an aircraft, Trevor would win that fight. Whose heist is next? I can help with whoever. It was Jeremiah needed help with his heist. I can help him next. Yeah, I'm aware of the music. Don't worry, I'm ready for it. Okay. Okay. The work story is like those men in the place where your mom works as a cleaner who orders pizza and don't even finish the pizza and leave the pizza on the table with your mom having to clean it up. Yeah, that happens to my mom. But wait, what work story are you talking about now? Is are you comparing it to something else? Uh, uh, okay. I want to get more rental properties in the future, and I just want to expand my lore content. That's my plans for the future. I don't know much about them, Gunner. Oh, there's the heist. Okay, let's do it. But yeah, Cringe. I appreciate the super chat. I'm just not gonna I just don't want to get involved in, like, you know, all the politics and all that, you know, all that stuff. Today marks 2 years of Ray Liotta's passing. Oh, okay. Yeah. I still can't believe Ray Liotta passed away. He wasn't even that old. He was in his 60s, I think, when he passed away. One of his last roles was The Sopranos, the Many States of Newark. That was one of his last roles ever. Do you think any of us will live long enough to see Mars or a different planet be safe to live on? Yeah, I think that we're definitely going to see some early settlements on Mars in the future. And wait, what, Peter? Look, think about it this way. 100 years ago, we didn't have things like the internet, you know, smartphones, you know, stuff like that. So you can't imagine what's going to happen in the next 100 years. You never know. There could be some massive, major technological advancements. So my message was the best way to disrupt combat communism nowadays is to read a history book out loud. Rest in peace, Ray Liotta. Thank you, I am Batman, for the super chat. I think that, Oh, okay, Zombie Fanatic. What's your question, Dustin? I'm not ignoring you. There's a lot of people that are posting. Oh, this heist. This is what we're doing here. Okay. The target is artwork. We can definitely take that with 2 people. I like your LA Noire playthrough. Thank you, Sensitivity. Thanks, man. The only thing I don't like about this approach is I don't like how long the cutscene is. Like, you have to watch that long cutscene every time.
I might need you to guide me through this. I wanted to attempt this one since I've never done this one before, so...
Yeah, I can help you. Just the cutscene is just really long on this, but... I think that when it comes to communism, I think that kids should definitely learn about how destructive the system was. I think that schools should teach kids about the destruction that both fascism and communism caused in the world. Because the thing about it is that if you take those 2 ideologies, you know, fascism and communism, both of those 2 ideologies, those are pretty modern ideologies still too. Like, they were both fascism and communism within the last, communism was invented in the 1870s, but you didn't have the first communist country until the Soviet Union. So, and then fascism was really created by Mussolini. But both of those ideologies is like fascism and communism, even though they're both ideologies that were created within the last 100 years, they have killed more people combined than like any other ideology, you know, before that. Like, both of those ideologies are just responsible for just so much destruction, so much murder, so many atrocities. Both of those ideologies have destroyed entire countries, entire nations, entire continents even. So it's just How do you respond to people who claim that capitalism got more people killed than communism? Simple. Do you know what the difference between capitalism and communism is? Other than the economic side of it? The main difference between capitalism and communism is that capitalism is not an ideology. Capitalism is just an economic system. But communism, on the other hand, is an ideology and an economic system. Capitalism is just mostly an economic system. That's the difference between them. There are some people that use capitalism as an ideology. I agree with that. Some people, but it's not as common as communism. Communism is always an ideology also. That's the difference between it. And so here's the thing about this is when it comes to capitalist countries, you can have a country that is a capitalist dictatorship and you can have a country that is a capitalist democracy. So capitalism, you can have a wide range of governments. It can be anything from a dictatorship all the way to a democracy. So there's just so many different governments that you can have under capitalism. But when it comes to communism, communism is always a dictatorship. It's never a democracy. It is always a dictatorship every single time. There's not one communist country that was not that wasn't authoritarian. Every single communist country was authoritarian. Every single communist country was a dictatorship. And here's the thing is, the easiest way to shut down the communist arguments is this. This is how you shut it down easily. You just say, I know the audio is muted right now. I'm muting it just so I could talk over this. I've seen this cutscene like so many times. But here's the thing is, in America, you have the freedom to be a communist in America. And you can live in America and you can call America the most evil country in the world. But can you be a capitalist in Cuba? Can you be a capitalist in North Korea? Can you be a capitalist in Nicaragua? Can you be a capitalist in these countries? No, you can't. And that's all I'll say is that's easiest way to shut it down right there. Follow me, by the way, Fixated. Follow me, Fixated. Keep running, keep running. Keep following me up. Okay. Okay, go back. Okay. Okay. Okay, come on. Okay. Okay, hold on. Okay, go now. Okay. Hang on. I'm gonna get rid of this guy in this hallway here because he's gonna get annoying.
Oh, shoot, there's a guard coming down the other side right there.
Stay over here. Stay where you are. Don't move. I'll deal with it. Hold on. Okay.
Coming.
Wait. Get ready. Go. Wait. This is gonna be a pain. Go here. Okay. I don't really do this approach much. So I'm just trying my best here right now. We're gonna wait till he turns. Hold on. Okay, go. Ready for him to turn. Go now. Move. Quick, quick. Hold on. I'm gonna deal with the guy in the security room. Stay away from the door. There's one less guy to deal with later. Okay. Okay, here. Okay. Swipe. Okay, there we go. Nice. Hi, I tour a motorcycle ride home where the highway was shut down and I went on roads I've never been before at night in the rain. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Zach. Well, it's glad that you got home safe. Yeah, I'll tell you something. One time I was when I was going to Walmart in my town my town here in the Midwest, I was doing some grocery shopping. And I took like an extra route home, like a road that I'd never taken before, and it took me like on these dirt roads that were like, you know, it was pitch black and it was like kind of scary. Like I'd never been down those roads before. You know how to do this drilling, right, Sixated?
I think so from the other, watching your stream from last time.
Okay, one more. This here. There we go. Let me see.
There we go, I'm getting it now.
What are your thoughts on Karl Marx? Was he an evil person? Here's what I'll say about Karl Marx. I hate communism. You know, I'm a very free market guy. I don't think that Karl Marx personally was a bad person. I think that he was more just a product of his time, because when Karl Marx was writing the Communist Manifesto at that time, it was the height of the Industrial Revolution. There was like, these factory bosses that were abusing these workers. They were treating these workers like garbage. You know, people were working, 6 days a week. They were working 12-hour shifts. They didn't have, any breaks during that shift. They barely had enough money to put food on the table. And so you had these, giant corporations that were pretty much controlling everything. And that's pretty much, Karl Marx got pissed off at that. And basically he created his ideology, which was communism. But, the capitalism that we have today, at least in America, it's not the same capitalism that you had, like, during the Industrial Revolution, where, like, these giant, large corporations didn't even have safety features in these factories, and kids were working in factories. Today, the workers make way more money. They work less. It's, we can still improve. It's not, capitalism is not the most perfect system. We have issues. There are things that can be fixed, definitely. But I remember it's what my professor said in college. My professor in college, he said this, and I'll never forget this. He said that capitalism is not a perfect system. It has problems, which it does, but it's much better than anything else that's been done before. And so he's completely right on that. It is not a perfect system, but if you compare it to everything else that's been tried before, it's everything else has always been bad. Like, I mean, it's like if you look at the other economic systems, you look at fascism and you look at communism, they've both been destructive, evil systems that have just killed so many people. The only system that I think is worse than communism is fascism. I think fascism is worse than communism. But it's like, both of those, ideologies have just, killed so many people and just caused so much widespread destruction. It's just, okay. Tell that capitalism to Boeing passengers. Well, the thing that's going on with Boeing, I wouldn't really say that that's the fault of capitalism. It's just because you live in a capitalist society doesn't mean that there's not going to be some regulation. I think that a company like Boeing should be regulated more. Yes, doesn't mean I support like socialism or something like that, for example. What about Nordic countries? Nordic countries are not socialist countries because they haven't nationalized everything. Do you know what's a socialist country? Venezuela is a socialist country because Venezuela has nationalized pretty much everything. The Nordic countries like, Sweden, Norway, they haven't done that. They haven't nationalized everything. Yes, they have universal health care and education, but they haven't nationalized every, key piece of industry, which is what Venezuela has done. Also, Norway, Sweden does not kick out foreign investment. Venezuela kicks out any foreign investment out of their country. That's also an important thing. There's no perfect economic system, just the least evil one. Yeah, and look, like you know, there are some parts of capitalism that I agree suck. You know, I like when I was talking about earlier, like I'm a landlord. Like, you know, I own 2 rental properties, but I have to deal in my town with this huge large corporation that is buying up like hundreds of homes. Like there's this, I live in a kind of like a large town, maybe you could call it a city in the Midwest, and you know, this town has like it's like 200,000 people. So, you know, it's like, it's technically, I guess, classified as a city, but most people call it a town. But anyways, about it is that there's one large corporation that is just purchasing up so many homes, and it's just ridiculous. People can't buy homes. It's also hard for, you know, my business too. So it's just, it's getting annoying. It's getting ridiculous. So there are some issues with capitalism, definitely. But the thing is capitalism is still a far better system than communism. If you compare it, like, to communism, like, communism is just a destructive system that has just caused so many problems. Like with capitalism, you might be dealing with some really greedy, annoying corporations, but for the most part is, you know, you're not gonna starve, you're not gonna go hungry. Swipe your card. Like, you know, my parents grew up in a communist country. My parents grew up in communist Eastern Europe, and do you know what my father had to do? My grandfather, my dad, I never met my grandfather because he died before I was even born, but about my grandfather, this is my father's father, is my grandfather on my father's side. My dad, when he talks about him, my dad says that he still loved him, but his dad was not around a lot. Like, you know, his dad was just not there for my dad. Like, he wasn't there to help. He wasn't, like, you know, he wasn't around there a lot. He wasn't doing a lot of things when my dad was growing up, and he was abusive at times too. My dad still tells me he still loved him, but it was like, from everything that I've heard about my grandfather, is he just wasn't around. And what my dad had to do is my dad had to take care of his 2 younger brothers. So because his dad wasn't around a lot, and so my dad, what he had to do is he was growing vegetables, and he was selling those vegetables on the streets, and that was actually illegal to do because that was actually considered profiting the capitalist system. If you just grow vegetables in your garden and even sell them, you were not allowed to make a profit in a communist country. And so my dad literally had to do that just to basically have enough to basically feed his 2 younger brothers because his dad wasn't around. And so that is literally what you that is like a perfect follow me over here when you get the chance, fixated. That is like a perfect example of, like, you know, what you deal with in communism. Like, you know, a system just like that. You're dealing with stuff like that. So that is what I would say is my dad and my mom. You know, my mom, when my mom was a child, you know what my mom had to do? My mom had to go to a grocery store at like 5 o'clock in the morning when the truck was coming in. And the truck would, you know, come in, make the food delivery. And what would happen is it would deliver barely any food. And everybody was like, and the few food that was in the stores, like a few cans of food, people were fighting over that 1 can of food that was like in the supermarket. That's how horrible it was. The government would ration everything. The government would give you like a piece of paper, and they would tell you like, oh, you can only buy this amount of food. Oh crap. Okay, we're taking the elevator. Let's just keep moving. So literally, yeah.
We've got some heavy chatter on the police frequency.
Okay, hang on.
Sounds like they're sending
We should be fine. Just stay close to me. We'll be fine.
Holy! This place is off limits.
Okay. Okay. Follow me. Oh crap, damn it, this door's blocked off. Okay, hold on. Okay, it's gonna be a little hard to get out of this. We can,
Cocksucker!
careful.
Keep me covered!
It's ridiculous the amount of headshot damage they take. Okay, go over here, quick, move.
I don't think you're supposed to be here, asshole.
Get in the elevator. We're taking the roof out. It's too risky going near the front door because there's or that side door because there's armored guys all over. And nobody ever. Oh crap. Oh crap. The guy was right at the elevator. Why did Yugoslavia have a better quality of life? if it's a communist country? Simple. Because Yugoslavia did a few things that most other communist countries did not do, which is why it had the highest standards of living of any communist country. Yugoslavia did not isolate itself from the rest of the world like the Soviet Union did, for example. The Soviet Union only traded with communist countries. It did some trading with the West, but barely any. It only associated with communist countries, and the Soviet Union also restricted its people from traveling, so people could only travel to other communist countries. So if you wanted to go to vacation in the Soviet Union, you could only vacation in other Warsaw Pact countries or vacation in, like, Cuba. You could not vacation in like a capitalist Western country. You could not do that. So that was like the Soviet Union isolated itself, and it did not let its citizens travel. Yugoslavia allowed its citizens freely to travel. So in Yugoslavia, you were allowed to travel. And the Yugoslavian passport was the strongest passport in the world because it was a neutral country. It traded with both the communist East and the capitalist West. So it dealt with both countries. And Yugoslavia also exported their products to Western countries, even though they were a communist country. They exported the Yugo car, which the Yugo car was not a great car, but it was an affordable car. It was a car that everybody could own. That was one of Yugoslavia's best exports. And Yugoslavia got really rich exporting the Yugo car to other countries. So that's why they were successful, because they traded with other countries and they didn't isolate themselves like the Soviet Union. So ironically, Yugoslavia was becoming a bit capitalistic, which is why they weren't such a failure. My grandfather on my mom's side was an officer in the ARVNs. Yep, South Vietnam's army. I know. My mom told me that you can be in the army bands if you know the right people. His brother died in 1975. You can be in army bands? What do you mean army bands if you know the right people? What do you mean by that? I'm a bit confused what I mean by army bands. I saw a TikTok that if inflation continues and rises, America will be unaffordable to live, at least for common folks, major of us. Inflation is becoming a massive problem. And let me look at Mr. Nowhere's most underrated Sopranos character. The most underrated Sopranos character, let me just think really quickly on this. Who would be the most underrated Sopranos character? I would say maybe a controversial one, AJ. Because AJ did get some episodes, but the thing about AJ is AJ was very relatable. He was basically the child of, like, a rich child that was spoiled by his, like, rich father. And so he was, like, a very relatable character, I would say. I wouldn't say necessarily very relatable, but a very believable character. That's what I would say. You think about making videos on history. You sound so passionate, you should make a video if you find the time. I have made actually a few historical videos. I actually want to make a few Sniper Elite history videos. Okay, hang on a second.
That guard won't turn around.
I know he won't. And if we knock him out, the other guard's gonna see it. Okay, get ready to move. We're both gonna run in a moment. You ready?
Yep.
You ready? Go. Okay, we're just taking the elevator. Let's go.
Get in the cargo elevator and use your key card. Play it cool. Okay, I need you to
Stay in the elevator.
They've seen what you did to the vault, and now the whole place is locking down fast. They know you're still in the building. Just keep moving and keep quiet.
Follow me.
Time to change your outfits. We need a fresh start if you're gonna make it out of here under the radar.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
We're good. Follow me.
Closing in on us. We need to
You
pick
get that
up
outfit, I'm getting the
pace.
other one.
Security is sweeping the whole building. Stay one step ahead, or this whole thing goes south.
Okay. I will answer your question in this one moment, Peter, I promise. Thank you for the super chat. Just give me 2 minutes. Let me just escape the casino.
Perimeter, so you'll have to do that the old-fashioned
This way.
Good job, officers. It's about time you showed up. As long as you're in the casino, that outfit's a free pass. Slip out the
Oh, okay, Gunner. You know, I'll tell you something. I talked to a Vietnamese guy once on Sniper Elite 4 when I was playing co-op. I think I still have him added. I would just have to check. I don't even know if I remember his name because it was just like 2 years ago I added him on co-op on Sniper Elite. But he was a Vietnamese guy that actually lives in America. I'll tell you about him in just a moment also.
Hey, yeah, I can't really talk, but it sounds like the thing's
Follow
working
me.
out, right? Yeah.
Remember, they know the vault's been hit, but they don't know who you are or where
This
you
way.
are. They have patrols sweeping the whole place, and all the civilians have been evacuated. So if they see
Follow me up here. We're taking his supercar.
so just stay out of
Yeah,
their
climb
way
that.
and keep your cool
I'll
and
drive.
get to the buyer. The driver
When we get in that car, they're probably gonna spot us. Don't get in, just get near the door.
Now, don't let them see you leaving.
Get in.
You should avoid the bulk of the cops this way. The only thing that matters is making it to your ride.
And one good thing about this approach is you get a really good car to escape with.
If you're doing it with more than 2 people, do they spawn another car? Or
No, it's only one supercar always. I will answer all the super chats and as many questions as I can in just one moment, guys. Just please let me lose the cops. I'm just trying to help fixate it with this heist here.
Our decoy is online. The cops are confused as hell. Don't get seen near him.
Spend so much time losing the cops on this that I've pretty much memorized the best routes to take.
Your driver left a clean car for you. Pinging your GPS now. Don't let him see you make the switch. As long as you don't do anything
I don't know if it's even possible to lose the cops before the decoy goes away. I don't know if that's possible. I've never tested that fully. Maybe we'll see it the answer now. Let's go down to 4 stars now. Okay.
Just got word from the decoy. We don't have long before they have to tap out. Make the most of it.
Here we go. Okay.
Alright, the decoy is out.
No, the decoy is not a waste of money. The switch vehicle maybe is a waste of money, but the decoy is still good because you lose like a star at a time, and it's I think it goes down like 3 stars sometimes. We're about to lose the cops. Great thing about this car is the acceleration. You can easily make turns and escape. Okay, hold on, I'll read the comments in just one moment. Okay, there we go, lost the cops, we're good. Okay, let's answer, okay, let's see, if socialism and communism is doomed to fail, why waste time sanctioning them? Just let them fail on their own. Also, the US is an oligarchy now. Actually, here's what I'll tell you something about this, Peter. I'll throw the question, let me mute Lester right here. I will throw the question back to you right now. If socialism and the communism, and I don't know if you're defending it, but why are socialist and communist countries constantly encouraging violent revolutions in capitalist countries? If it was so successful, they would just do it in their country and they wouldn't bother harassing other countries. But socialist and communist countries are always constantly encouraging violent revolutions in other countries. And that's the thing is I understand the CIA did bad things during the Cold War. I fully get that. I know they destabilized governments and they did military coups. But the Soviet Union also did their fair share of coups where they were constantly interfering in other countries, encouraging violent revolutions in other countries. They were doing that. You had Greece. Communist revolt happened in Greece. You had, what was it? Soviets supported the communist government in North Vietnam. They supported the communist invasion in North Korea. The Soviet Union supported the North Korean invasion of South Korea. The Soviet Union supported the coup in Nicaragua. They supported a coup in Afghanistan where they had the Afghanistan president assassinated by Spetsnaz forces. The Soviets supported the communists in the Angolan Civil War. There's just a bunch of other countries I could possibly name, but the point that I'm getting at is the Soviet Union supported so many coups and so many overthrows of capitalist governments in other countries. So it wasn't just the United States wasn't the only one who was just overthrowing governments and doing coups. I fully accept that the U.S. did horrible things with those coups. I don't deny that the CIA did messed up things with their coups. What I'm just saying is that the Soviet Union also had their own fair share of coups in a lot of other countries. So there's plenty of socialist countries and communist countries that are encouraging violent revolutions in other countries. It's not just the West that was sanctioning socialist countries. But as far as the socialist countries, what I'll say about them is when it comes to sanctioning socialist countries today, we're talking like 2024, I don't support sanctions against Cuba. So if it comes to like a country like Cuba, I can't stand Cuba's economic system. I don't like their communist government, but I don't personally support sanctions against a country like Cuba. I don't support that. I think that causes more issues than it solves. And what sanctions do is sanctions they empower dictators. Because what happens is when a country puts sanctions on a dictatorship, what the dictator then does is he takes those sanctions and he basically says, oh, all the problems that's in our country is because of the Americans. So that's basically what the Cuban government does, is when there's food shortages, when there's economic problems in Cuba, the Cuban government takes no responsibility for their failed policies, and they basically say, oh, it's all the Americans' fault. Oh, the reason you're hungry, the reason you're starving, the reason you have no money, it's the Americans, the imperialist Americans, they're at fault for everything. Venezuela does the exact same thing. Venezuela basically says, oh, the reason you're poor, the reason inflation is so out of control, it's because of the Americans. But no, the reason inflation and all these problems are out of control in Venezuela is because Venezuela nationalized everything. That's the problem. That's the issue. So honestly, if I was president, what I would do is I would remove sanctions from a country like Venezuela, and I would remove sanctions from a country like Cuba. And what I would do is I would say to that Maduro, the leader of Venezuela, I would say to them, I've removed all the sanctions from your country. Why is your country still under such economic problems? Why is it still having all this horrible inflation? Why are people killing animals in the streets and eating them? And it's horrible. It's stuff like this is happening. People will kill cows in the streets in Venezuela and just eat the meat raw. People are just starving. It's horrible. I'm not insulting anybody in Venezuela or anything like that. I'm just saying is there's starvation that's going on in Venezuela. I feel horrible for the people in Venezuela. People are just killing dogs and cats. Stuff like it's horrible. This inflation is out of control. If you want to just eat in Venezuela, you bring in a whole stack of cash. Literally, you bring in stacks of cash just to have one burger at a restaurant. It's just the inflation is just so out of control. So no, I don't support sanctions on countries like that. I think that it empowers dictators and it just uses dictators and just uses as propaganda against the U.S. But when it comes to the Cold War, during the Cold War is a different story. It's the Soviet Union was encouraging violent revolutions in a lot of other countries. So that's what I'll say about that. Is that there are the Soviet Union ruined my country as well. What country? What country, Jahan? What are your thoughts on firearms ownership in the U.S. and globally, such as some countries banning handguns but still allowing rifles like Canada? I think that people should have a right to own firearms. I consider it a right to own a firearm. I think it's a human right. That's just my personal opinion on it. Oh, the stream probably got copyrighted. I wasn't even paying attention to the music. We probably got copyrighted. Oh, whatever. It is what it is. I don't think any sanctions work. YCM. That's my view on it. Yeah, you have a lot of knowledge. Thank you, Wisdom. So yeah, I feel bad for the people in Venezuela. I'm not insulting people in Venezuela when I say that, but people are starving and stuff like that. But a lot of that stuff is happening. People are killing farm animals and eating the food raw because they're just so hungry. So that's these crappy dictators, what they will do is they will constantly blame all the problems in their country on the U.S. every single time, even when the U.S. has nothing to do with the problems in their countries. That's why I don't think that sanctions necessarily work. But what country? You said, Jahan, you said the Soviet Union ruined your country. What country are you in? That was 2 or 3 seconds. It doesn't matter. The copyright is out of control. I'll still get copyright claimed. But do you understand what I'm saying here? Now, Peter, version on. I'm sorry if I'm reading your name correctly. I'm trying to read your name. But do you get what I'm saying, Peter? We want their oil. What are you talking about? Are you talking about Venezuela? Is that what you're talking about? I understand that Venezuela has massive oil reserves and it has the largest amount of oil in the world. And yes, I will agree with you that a huge part of the reason why the U.S. is so interested in Venezuela is for the oil. But you're also missing one key thing about Venezuela. The U.S. is not the only one who wants Venezuela's oil. Do you know who else wants Venezuela's oil? Russia and China. They want Venezuela's oil. And actually, Venezuela is actually giving their oil to Russia and China. So, I agree that, it's messed up that the U.S. is involved in that, too. But it's Russia and China that are also involved in that. People don't talk about that. They only talk about America's involvement in that. But yes, I don't support any sanctions against any country. So that's just my view on it. I don't think sanctions work. Jahan, what country were you in? You said the Soviet Union ruined your country. I'm curious to hear what country you were in. Iran is sanctioned a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of countries that are sanctioned, but I can't stand these dictators, but I just don't think sanctions are successful. Why do you think people tend to favor communism nowadays? I think it's a lack of education, or I think or the wrong education. That's what I would say. I will edit out the copyright if it happens, zombie. Peter version 1. Russia, China, I can agree, it's a resource war. Man. And also, there's another thing, Peter. There's one other thing that you're missing about Venezuela. Are countries being imperialist to Venezuela? Yes, to a degree. I would say yes, the U.S. is being imperialist to a degree to Venezuela, so is Russia and China. But that doesn't mean that Venezuela's government are good. Venezuela's government is evil. It's corrupt. It's it steals their money, and I think that all of us can agree the Venezuelan oil should go to the Venezuelan people. It shouldn't go to Maduro, the dictator of Venezuela. It shouldn't go to the U.S. It shouldn't go to Russia or China. It should go to Venezuelan people. That's who should benefit from the oil, the Venezuelan public. But the government of Venezuela is just so corrupt and it's just so evil that it just doesn't know what it's doing, and then you have these rapid inflation and this horrible crap that's basically going on. But I'll tell you something else with Venezuela. Venezuela is also imperialist. So Venezuela is being imperialist towards Guyana. You beat me to it, JP. Guyana, am I pronouncing the country's name right? Venezuela is being imperialist towards Guyana. And Venezuela is basically claiming to Guyana that they own like a huge portion of their country, and they're threatening to invade them. I don't think that Venezuela is going to invade Guyana. I don't think that's going to happen, because if Venezuela invaded Guyana, Guyana would destroy them, because Venezuela cannot is having massive economic problems. They're having food shortages, and the fact that they would have the resources to launch a war against Guyana, their entire country would collapse. However, though, they are trying to take Guyana's land, and they're threatening Guyana constantly, and Venezuela is hoping that Guyana will just give in and give them the land. So that's what they're basically hoping to, but they are being imperialist towards Guyana. Afghanistan pro. Oh, Afghanistan. Well, yeah, the Soviet Union had a huge part in that. They assassinated Afghanistan's leader in the they assassinated Afghanistan's president a long time ago. Are there any other heists? No, not at the moment. We're gonna wrap up the stream here in a little bit. But do you understand that, Peter? That Venezuela is also imperialist towards Guyana? Because a lot of people think that socialist and communist countries can't be imperialist. I don't know why people think that. People just think that they can't be imperialist. They very much can be imperialist. You look at the Warsaw Pact. What was that? The Warsaw Pact was Soviet Union's puppet states in Eastern Europe. That was basically Soviet colonialism when you think about it. Yeah, I'm Guyanese. They want to just give them Essequibo. I'm assuming that's the region. Yeah, and Natasha, I hope that your country does not give in. I hope that your country does not give the Venezuelan government anything. Because it's your land, it's your country, and your government should not give anything to the Venezuelan government. In India is a mixed economy using both socialist and capitalist economy. I think the vast majority of countries in the world have a little bit of socialism in their government. Some, not a lot, but a little bit. Tell us about the Vietnamese guy that you met on Sniper Elite 5. I don't remember his PSN, so I can't tell you that because it was like 2 years ago. I remember I added him, but I have like 2,000 friends, so I probably won't be able to figure out what his name was. Maybe if I search up by Sniper Elite 4, who owns Sniper Elite 4, my friends list, I might be able to find him. Basically, I met him while I was playing co-op on the Snow map, the Snow DLC map. I was playing, it was like 2 years ago, and about the Vietnamese guy. Is basically I was talking to him like about a bunch of different stuff about like Vietnam, and he was basically telling me how he was how I asked him one thing that I asked him about is I asked him about like the children of American soldiers, like, you know, how they were treated in Vietnam, and he basically told me that the children in the children of American soldiers were treated like second-class citizens. They were treated like garbage. He also told me that a lot of people in South Vietnam don't call Ho Chi Minh. They actually call it Saigon, which is its original name. And I asked him why the communists in Vietnam hate the communists in China. And he basically told me that the communists in China are actually the most toxic communists out there. He told me that he can't stand he hates the communists in Vietnam, but he said that the communists in China are even worse than the communists in Vietnam. And so he said that not even the communists in Vietnam like the communists in China. That's how that's the thing. And then he was also talking about how China was violating Vietnam's like waters and stuff like that. But he did not even like the Vietnam government, so he didn't even like it. Also, he didn't blame America for the Vietnam War when I was talking to him. So he was, he was very much a supporter of South Vietnam during the war. Yeah. My family from South Vietnam, and we call Ho Chi Minh Saigon, and that's what I would say is that is the problem. Is, well, not what you're saying, but I'm saying is that the problem is there are so many people out there. I don't know why, but there are so many people that think that all the Vietnamese people support the Vietnamese government. I don't know why, but like a lot of people don't understand. Vietnam used to be two countries. It was North Vietnam and it was South Vietnam, and there's plenty of people that still support the old South Vietnam government, even though it's been gone for like 50 years at this point. Is there are still plenty of people who support the old South Vietnam government, and they don't recognize the entire state of Vietnam. So North Vietnam conquered South Vietnam and invaded and conquered South Vietnam. And the thing about this is North Vietnam is never called imperialist. So the people who these people who like constantly hate America, they don't ever call like North Vietnam imperialist. You can make the argument that American involvement in the Vietnam War was unnecessary and it was stupid, but the North Vietnam were not the good guys in that situation. Not necessarily saying the U.S. was the good guys either, but North Vietnam were not good. People think that they were just liberating their country. No, they were invading South Vietnam, and the Viet Cong massacred and killed so many South Vietnamese people. You see here, you like war stories and stuff. I like to read a lot of history. I heard that in the Soviet Union and countries like Lithuania, people used to queue up for ice cream, and it was just ordinary plain ice cream, but nobody cared because ice cream was something new to the Soviet Union. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff. The Soviet Union actually tried to copy a lot of American stuff. They tried to make their own version of Coca-Cola, but it sucked. So they actually tried to copy a lot of stuff. Isn't Viet Cong in the north? No. The Viet Cong were a resistance group they were primarily South Vietnamese communists that did terrorist attacks in South Vietnam. Some of them were Cambodian, but the vast majority of them were South Vietnamese. My mom told me that Northerners siphoned most of the South's revenue to build their highways and other new fancy infrastructures, and they left us with very little. And so that's a perfect example right there, is North Vietnam was imperialist towards South Vietnam. I don't know why people think that communist countries can't be imperialist. They just think, oh, communist countries can't be imperialist. They very much are. There's a lot of communist countries that engage in imperialism, and that's like a perfect example of that. The thing is, though, is you always wonder if South Vietnam had survived as a country, you'll also wonder what it would be like today, what it would be like as a country today. It would probably be like South Korea today if South Vietnam survived as a country. North Vietnam today is not as bad as North Korea. It's still authoritarian. It's not as bad as North Korea, at least, but it's still a pretty authoritarian place. Is the only way to be rich in a communist country to be a high-ranking member of the government? Yes. That's really the only way to be rich in a country like Vietnam or China. You have to be a member of the Communist Party to be rich, or at least be a big supporter of the Communist Party. Because if you criticize the Communist Party in Vietnam or you criticize the Communist Party in China, they will take your business from you. They will take your resources. They will take everything from you. So your business will never be able to succeed unless you are a massive supporter of the Communist Party in those countries. What do you think of Turkmenistan? Turkmenistan is one of the most unfree countries in the world. Turkmenistan is a dictatorship that is actually in Central Asia. I forget the dictator's name because he has such a long name. Like, it's such a long name to pronounce. But yeah, that dictator is such a psycho that he built a giant gold statue to himself and his dog. So like he made gold statues to his dog. And in the capital city of Turkmenistan, Ashgabat, if you look at the city, there's something really creepy about the city. Every single building is painted white in the city, and because there's a law that every single building has to be painted white, and the only cars that are allowed on the streets are gray and white cars because the dictator doesn't like any other car colors. So it's only white and gray cars are allowed on the streets. It's like it's creepy. Yeah, Serdar Bermicha Do. Yeah, I can't pronounce that. That was dumb. Yeah, but I will tell you I will tell you guys something about the dictator of Turkmenistan, and this, you will not believe me. You will think that I'm joking when I say this. You think Turkmenistan, it's a dictatorship that's in Central Asia. Now listen, what I'm about to say, you guys are going to think that I'm making this up. You guys are going to think that I'm BSing when I say this, but I'm telling you guys this is 100% true, and you can look it up. You can look up the video if you don't believe me on YouTube. Do you know what the dictator of Turkmenistan did? He recorded a rap music video. Like he was rapping, and he put it on state TV. So, like, the dictator of Turkmenistan was rapping. He did his own rap music video, like a dictator of a country that's like oppressing people, he put a rap music video on state TV and he made his own people watch it while he was rapping. This is like something that like you hear in like, you know that movie The Dictator? It's like something like you hear from that, but this actually happened. Like the dictator of Turkmenistan did a rap music video where he's rapping on state TV. Like there was like, just look it up, Turkmenistan dictator rap, and it's like the most cringe thing I've ever seen. And his rap is just so terrible. Also, he doesn't even know how to rhyme. He doesn't know how to rap. His music is terrible. So it's like it's really bad. Is this dictator a kid? No, he's a grown man. He's like, I think he's like in his 60s or 70s. And he was rapping with his grandson. So it's him and his grandson that were rapping. I think it was his grandson's idea who he wanted to rap, but it was like that was that. But I don't think the creepiest thing was actually his the rapping. I think the creepiest thing was his holiday special. I think the holiday special was the creepiest thing. What do you think of Laos? Laos is another country that's in Southeast Asia. It's also a communist country. It has more of a freer economy, but the party that runs Laos is the Communist Party of Laos. So Laos used to be a monarchy, I believe, but they chased the monarchy out. They had their own communist revolution. So Laos was Laos is still a dictatorship. Have you tried Alien Boom Boom demo on Steam? No, I don't know what that is. What is that? It's a game. Probably made a super chat. Let me look. My first time seeing a bloater. Also, when I see the Rat King, yeah, I'm dead. Also, thoughts The Last of Us 1 Season 1, and we'll watch Season 2, maybe. If Last of Us Season 2 is anything like the second game, I might get a bit pissed. Oh, and I missed a super chat earlier. Lamar, who's worse? Well, I'm not going to go into the YouTubers, Lamar. Thank you for the super chat. I just think all of those guys are just clickbaiters. But let me actually show you guys this. I'll show you guys this because people aren't believing me that this is real. Hold on a second. I'll show you guys this. Let me see here. Okay, let me just show you guys this because you guys are not gonna yeah, you guys aren't gonna believe this because of how stupid this is. This is so ridiculous. And also the dictator of Turkmenistan actually broke a Guinness World Record. He basically wanted to be in the world record book, and so what he did was he created the largest choir of people singing, 4,166 people singing at once, and so that's He did that. So the guy's a complete psycho. And this guy is a horrible guy. He has like secret police. He kills his people. Turkmenistan is probably a country you never heard about. I think it only has like 4 million people. It's a pretty big country, but it has very low population. So and also, if you're wondering how this dictatorship survives, Turkmenistan has massive natural gas deposits, and so that's how Turkmenistan survives, because it has they make so much money from the natural gas. But here's the crazy thing I'll tell you about Turkmenistan. You never hear about Turkmenistan in the media. It's a brutal dictatorship, and the dictator who was before the last guy, he was such a psycho that, do you know what he did? He named the months of the country on his family members. So the months of the country are based on his family members. And the reason you never hear about the psychotic dictatorship in Turkmenistan, the reason you never hear about it is because of the natural gas. That is the reason why you never hear about it. Because here's the thing, you hear about North Korea all the time, but you never hear about this country. This country is just as bad as North Korea. You can make the argument. But there's 2 reasons you don't hear about it. It's the gas, and also because Turkmenistan is a neutral country. So it's a dictatorship, but it's a neutral country. It doesn't take Russia. It's near Russia. It used to be part of the Soviet Union, but it doesn't take Russia's side, and it doesn't take the West side. It's a very neutral country. And so both the West and Russia don't harass Turkmenistan because of that. China doesn't harass the country either. And what Turkmenistan does is they sell cheap natural gas to both the West and Russia and China. So they're selling natural gas to everybody. And the West gets cheap natural gas from Turkmenistan. And Turkmenistan does not have nuclear weapons. So that's why you never hear about Turkmenistan, because they're getting cheap natural gas. So the West likes the status quo in Turkmenistan because they're getting cheap natural gas. So for them, there's no reason to overthrow the dictator because they're getting cheap natural gas from Turkmenistan. So that's the scary thing about Turkmenistan is, so when these people are constantly talking about democracy, they only really support democracy in the countries where they're going to gain something from it. If there's like a dictator in their country that's giving them what they want, they have no problem with that dictator. But anyways, let me show you guys this, because I know Turkmenistan was in SOCOM 1. But let me show you this, because this you guys are not gonna believe this because of how stupid this is. Let me show you guys this. Hold on a second. Okay, here we go. Okay, so look at this. Turkmenistan's president performs in rap video of his grandson.
Hey guys, real quick, I want
to
give a shout out to MoneyGram for sponsoring this video. If you are a traveler, then you know how
Okay. Okay, just look. This is real. This is his rap video.
Turkmenistan. How is amazing place I was at. Caspian waves and birds sing it down. Life is so wonderful in motherland.
His singing and music is and look at these people when they're just cheering on for the dictator because they're scared. They're scared not to clap. They're basically like, oh, whatever. On this, he actually fell off his horse. This is like a decade ago, and somebody actually recorded this. I guess it was a smartphone that recorded this when he fell off his horse, but basically that video is actually illegal in the country, so you cannot have that video in the country when he fell off his horse. And then I'll show you guys this also. Look at this. This one's the creepiest one. The holiday special. Look at this. This. And also, in this country, there's only one newspaper, I think, and there's only, I think, like 2 or 3 channels, and they're government controlled. I don't think he's playing the piano also. I think that there's this background music. I think he's pretending to play the piano. That's what I think.
Durmuş nenem ovudun diyar nenem nurana gelte değil şan verip bu devletli devrana. May Allah fill the sky and the earth and let our hearts play the tune of love. Let our bliss be.
I can't watch this anymore. This is just so cringe. But yeah, that's oh, and let's watch the people clapping. It's just everybody has to clap or they're gonna die. They're scared. That's just But yeah, that's that is real. So that's like he's recording music videos. But that's oh, that's a dictator. That's a dictator. The dictator of Turkmenistan. He recorded a holiday special. That's basically what it is. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that say that the dictator made fun of him because he named like the predecessor named the months of the year on his family members. Is this a dictator we put in power? No. He just came to power after Turkmenistan broke away from the Soviet Union. So there was like one guy before him and then afterwards, so he has nothing to do with the US. Hey Pro, there's this channel called Paper Will. He made a video about all the entertainment North Korea made, like shows, movies, plays. Haven't watched, but seems like it's up your alley. I will look into that, buddy. Imagine if you turned on the TV and only saw Biden rap or Trump singing the blues. Thank God we have freedoms in the US. Yeah, that's Yeah, that's but I thank you guys, thank you Bunny and Fernando, and I cannot believe that I can't believe that that's real, that you had like a guy that was rapping, a dictator that was rapping on TV. Oh, and I'll show you guys one more video. Hang on. I'll show you guys one more video for like to show you guys how insane this dictator is. I'll show you guys one more video. Hold on a second, because of how ridiculous it is. Like. Okay. Okay, wait. Here we go. Here we go. Look at this, guys. This look at this. He made this statue in his country. So his people are starving. They don't have enough food to eat, and this is what he does. He made a giant gold statue of his dog. Like this is not real. You can look this up. And all the buildings in the capital have to be painted white.
Diňe bir köpüğün şekili bolman, ýetimol Türkmen halkynyň wepaly sirdaşy, ygtybarly kömekçisi we
I hate how he holds the dog. I hate how he holds the dog like that. And then look at this one. This one's when he look. This is the stupidest thing ever. This. He lifted a gold weight bar, like one of those, you know, bells that like bars that like you lift at the gym. It's like that's only what, like 65 pounds, I think. It's like you're supposed to put more weights on that. Like if you actually lifted that with weights, it would be impressive. But all he did was he just lifted like a bar, and everybody's like, oh, it's amazing, it's amazing. I could do that. This is just. Yeah, this is a real dictatorship. You can look this dictatorship up. That's how stupid this is. That is just, Okay, let me see here. Hey, Patrick, hope you're doing good. I just started to play Ghost Recon Breakpoint. It is, Ghost Recon Breakpoint is okay, Jacob, but the best one is Wildlands. No, North Korea is probably never going to become a democracy. Okay, guys, so, I guess we'll probably wrap it up here. I hope you guys liked me reacting to that stupid dictator. It's such a ridiculous thing. Like, I had to show you guys the video because I know people weren't believing me when I was talking about this dictator and the ridiculous things he does. But that's like, yeah, that's just the cringe, the rapping, like him making a rap music video on TV. It's just, yes, Gunner. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention to that dictator. He actually wrote a book. And the book that he wrote, it looks like a children's book. Like, all it does is has, like, a few words on each page, and, like, a picture on the other page. And his book, it has to be sold at every single bookstore in the country, and not only that, but when politicians are sworn into office in Turkmenistan, they have to swear on the dictator's book. Like, his little picture book. That's how stupid that is. No political. Favorite costume, Scarface remake. My favorite suit that Tony wears in the Scarface, you mean the Scarface game? What do you mean Scarface remake? My favorite suit would be the suit Tony wears, the white suit with the red shirt. My eyes and ears are bleeding just watching all that cringe. Yeah. I don't think it's gonna go that far, Preston. I don't think that that's true. Edgeworth, I would say, Lava. Oh, my favorite costume that I wore for a game, the Watch Dogs cosplay, which I'll actually have in a little bit. So, guys, in like 10 minutes, check on on my channel in 10 minutes. I'm gonna have the Watch Dogs, and 10-year anniversary is gonna be like in a couple minutes. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed the stream, do drop a like, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day, guys.